one man is sewn together with a skeleton of silverware. Johnny Bones Jones. But a living legend lies in his path.
This man is one of the best to ever do it.
What if we could see what it takes to win? A look beneath the anatomy of a king.
One of the most epic fights in the history of the UFC.
Welcome to New York City. It is UFC 309 official weigh-in morning here at the Fighter Hotel on TNT Sports. I'm Adam Cattrall. Pleasure as always to be in your company. Look who's with me. Nick Pete and the fresh-faced Hall of Famer himself, the one and only Mr. Michael Bisping.
Let's go. It's going to be a fantastic week here. Of course, they're going to come out and step on the scale very, very soon. We're going to break down the fights. We're going to speak to some fighters, and we're going to have a good time while we do it.
It's one of the best fight weeks of the year, this, isn't it, when we get into New York? It's become a staple since 2016.
Yeah, it's just become an iconic event, and I think part of that is Madison Square Garden. Part of that is there's no city in the world quite like New York. There's a different type of energy in and around the city. And, of course, the UFC always stack this event to bits. None more so than what we're getting tomorrow night.
Well, let's have a look at it, shall we? Because it is an absolute firecracker of a card. TNT Sports box office is the destination for you, with the prelims getting going from 1, main card from 3. Look at that. That's how you kick off a card. Maurizio Ruffi, everybody's talking about him at the moment against Lonzop. And then, of course, it's Araujo versus Silva, Bo Nickel and Paul Craig with a little bit of British interest there as well. And then the rematch that everybody's talking about this week, Charles Oliveira going up against Michael Chandler, before we see the return of 2 legends. That's right, Jon Jones taking on Stipe Miocic. And that is where we're going to start on today's show. There's the prelims for you. They get going from 1 o'clock. But let's get stuck into Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. It's GOAT versus GOAT. Basically, that's been the chat throughout the whole course of the week. What have you made of the demeanour of everything that we've seen this week from both guys?
Yeah, well, we've seen Jones turn it up in terms of the personal beef side of things. Stipe said a couple of words leading up to it. He didn't really mean it too offensively. The reality is that they're going to fight. Jon has taken that as an opportunity to get offended. And that's fine, because at the end of the day, they're going to step in an octagon and they're going to try and beat each other up. So if you want to look at it from an emotional standpoint, whatever it is that you got to do to get yourself fired up and ready for the fight, I can't wait for it. It just makes it even better. And with a little bit of bad blood on the line, always makes it more interesting for the fans. Jon's got a point to prove. Stipe wants to prove that he's not washed up, he's not done, he's certainly not an old man. It's going to be a tremendous evening.
We've got a bit of, well, it's limited data at the moment, isn't it, on both these guys in recent times. We've got, obviously, Jon, 1 fight at heavyweight, 1 fight in 4.5 years, and Stipe, we've not seen him in the octagon for 3.5 years, and he's back, hopefully, from his point of view, to regain his crown. What versions of these 2 guys are we expecting, Nick?
Well, to be honest, I'm expecting a really strong version of Stipe Miocic, because he realises, just like Jon does, that legacy's on the line, that he can define his own fighting legacy by getting a win over the self-styled greatest of all time. So we've just seen a highlights package there. You're right, Jon Jones' first foray at heavyweight, very limited, controlled. 60 seconds, didn't really get to see too much. He come in, obviously looked a little bit fleshy, didn't look as sharp maybe he was in the past, but none of that mattered, because as soon as he closed the distance, as soon as he got hold of Sirogan, it was the beginning of the end. The difference here is Stipe Miocic is a completely different animal in terms of his size, his physicality, and his grappling ability. Jon Jones won't be able to throw Stipe all over the octagon and get a finish so ruthlessly as he did against Sirogan.
Not to mention the punch power. That's going to be a big difference here, because we've never seen Jon take a clean shot from a heavyweight, and certainly one like Stipe Miocic. John Anik just kicked it off in the background. He's very loud, he's proud. It's going to be a great time.
We've been speaking a lot about Jon throughout the course of the week and what this means for him and what this means for his legacy and hopefully what's going to come next. Fingers crossed everybody gets aligned on that. From a Stipe point of view, there's only one man in UFC history that has won the same belt on 3 separate occasions, Randy Couture. That's some good company to keep if he manages to pull this off on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. That's why they talk about him being the most accomplished heavyweight of all time. Now, the big story is, he hasn't competed in 3 years. The last time he got knocked out, so what? That was to Francis Ngannou. Yep. They are 1-1, right? They're 1-1, remember that. Yep. And
and he schooled him the first time around.
Francis hits very hard. So what? It's 4-ounce gloves. It doesn't mean the man can't compete. 3 years away, he's had time to rest physically, but more importantly, mentally. He's 42 years old. I don't think that's too big of a deal when you're talking about heavyweights. We've seen great boxers like Evander Holyfield come out when they're almost 50 years old and reclaim the title. I think Stipe is being severely overlooked in this one.
No, absolutely. And there's the tail of the tape. Whenever I hear Jon Anik's animated voice, you know that it's a proper fight week. He's giving it some in the background. They're getting us all excited. But that's how it looks between the two guys in the main event. And then we've got the co-main event, which is extremely exciting. We saw it once already, and it was back and forth. That first fight, Nick, was kind of the epitome, wasn't it, of both of these guys' careers. Kill or be killed. Yeah,
exactly. They take unnecessary chances to provide themselves with golden opportunities. Michael Chandler's got this incredible wrestling base, but inside the octagon, he just throws heavy bombs. In the first fight, he catches Charles with a real good shot, drops him heavy, but drops him in the centre of the octagon. That's so important that Charles has got an out there. He can move in any direction. In the end, he tails up onto his back, manages to protect himself, and manages to hold on to the end of the round. Now, in the second round, when Michael Chandler's got the fight almost won, the reversal of fortune is so clear. Yeah. Look at the way Charles is just able to keep moving. Look how close the referee is. One clean shot, it could be stopped. This is the start of the second round, literally seconds later. And what's the difference when Charles landed with Michael Chandler this time? Instead of being dropped in the centre of the octagon, he gets dropped up against the fence, and he gets caught against the fence, and it allows Charles to pin him against the fence. And now his shots, Chandler's got absolutely nowhere to go here. That was the difference in who became UFC lightweight champion. The geography of where the guy fell when the big shot landed. That's how close it was. Super entertaining fight. Fantastic. I'm expecting nothing but the same again.
What's the mentality like for both of those guys going into that, given the fact that they've done it before and the way that that fight played out the first time around?
Yeah, I was talking to Michael Chandler this week, and for him, he's not going to change a thing. This is what he loves to do. He knows when he walks out there, the crowd's going to be incredibly loud, and everything's going to kind of go out the window. And that's why we love Michael Chandler. He's got well-rounded skills, so wherever the fight goes, he can just fight on instinct. He's not necessarily going to have a game plan. He's not going to use his wrestling per se in terms of play it safe, take him down, try and control him like other people have done. Remember, people like Paul Felder were able to sit in the guard of Charles Oliveira and chip away with elbows. Arman Sarukian last time did that. So that would be a smart game plan for Michael Chandler. However, that's not what he wants. He wants to entertain. He wants to give us a show-stopping moment, and he wants to solidify his shot at getting a crack at the lightweight title next.
Do you think he has to be a little bit more considered, though, Michael Chandler, that is, in this particular fight? Because we've seen him so many times get in there, and it just seems to me that he wants to be the super entertainer.
Yeah, and there's he himself, he's buying into how intoxicating it is that Michael Chandler at Madison Square Garden, magical things happen. He's bought in on that too, like we all are, and we missed him last year.
Yeah.
He's back this year, and we're expecting nothing else. And I think once the crowd gets going, this is an iconic venue for anywhere in the world, but especially if you're American, especially if the president-elect is sitting at cage side.
Donald Trump's going to be there.
The atmosphere is going to be absolutely insane. If the fight plays out the same way, if he drops Charles Oliveira in the first round, he's not going to take a step back and say, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not going to rush it. He's going to go straight in and throw bombs, because that's what Michael Chandler does.
Well, especially when you consider the time that he's had away. The time he's waiting on the sidelines, waiting for Conor McGregor, losing out on massive paydays. Probably could have fought 4 or 5, even 6 times in the time that he's been away. So he's got a lot to make up for. He said he's going to try and be a bit more measured, but I think when he walks out, he hears the crowd, the roar of the fans. Bruce Buffer's introducing him. He's just going to go back to that animalistic version of himself, which is what we all love. And Charles Oliveira's the same way. They both got one speed. They're going to walk forward, and it's going to be absolutely carnage. It really is.
Listening to you two speak about it, I've just got a massive smile on my face because I keep seeing the images of the first one. It's just going to be as good the second time round. That's your co-main event. It's Charles Oliveira takes on Michael Chandler. Big ramifications as well for that division, because a lot of guys haven't really... the division's not really moved too much since Michael's been out, has it? With people winning and losing. So a big performance, a big win, a viral moment. You could be next after Arman Sarukian to get back into the title
Chandler claims that he's been told categorically, if he beats Charles Oliveira, he's going to get a title shot.
Wow.
It's the same for Charles as well. Right. Obviously, after Sarukian and Islam Makhachev, whoever's the champ, one of these two guys will be fighting.
Plus, these are the two guys that are more than capable. If something happens to Arman Sarukian, let's hope it doesn't, but if it does, you want to be the guy in pole position to go, right, no other way, I'm in. I'm straight in for a title shot. And both these guys are more than happy to do that. They know what's on the line here. Charles can't afford to lose back-to-back to get back in the title picture, the position he's in right now. He says he's motivated by his new baby, he wants to bring a belt home for his new baby like it is with his son. That's a real motivating factor for him. But Michael Chandler's here. He plays the villain, doesn't he, Mike? The American fans even boom. It's crazy. But you know what you're getting when you buy a ticket to see Michael Chandler. You know you're going to get entertainment. And who in this sport would begrudge him getting a title opportunity?
The only thing about Michael Chandler is because he has been training the whole time for 2 years, has he overtrained?
Yeah,
has he been waiting for this moment too much?
Overthinking
has he overthinking it, overtraining,
Look at him there.
Just
That's him last night, by the way, making the weight.
Look at that. Absolutely ripped. The man's always in the gym, extremely explosive, hard power. Remember that leaping left hook that he dropped Dan Hooker with?
Yeah.
He's got the wrestling, of course. He's got the conditioning. He's got the mindset. He's got the positivity, the manifesting. You name it, he's got it. But also, so does Charles Oliveira.
Absolutely.
Did someone Photoshop Michael Chandler's head on my body?
No, I knew you were going to do that.
That was me in the shower this morning.
Listen, there's a bit of British interest on this card as well. Paul Craig against Bo Nickel. It feels like that piece of matchmaking is set up for Bo Nickel to make a statement, but do not underestimate Paul Craig in that fight.
Listen, if it hits the ground, which it will, because that's what Bo Nickel does, it's a really dangerous time for him. Paul Craig has submitted Jamal Hill and Magomed Ankalaev, a former champion and one of the best to ever do it. Paul Craig's got really unpredictable jiu-jitsu. He's got a very long frame as well. The relevance of that is the long legs. That makes it easier to cinch up triangles and stuff like that. So do not count out Paul Craig in this fight.
He's a massive underdog.
You will hear in the background the beautiful tones of John Anik. We are on the weigh-in. Iron Michael Chandler's just gone through there. And he's made weight quite comfortably. We've got digital scales today, by the way. We haven't got the old school scales. We've got digital scales to keep us ticking. Oh, look at
Let's go, Tom!
Stop turning up.
Come on! Sorry, I had to.
Tom Aspinall, who's down as the backup fighter for the main event, and of course has been part of the narrative throughout the whole course of this week. Lots of questions about Tom Aspinall in and around that main event. Dana has confirmed, listen, he will be fighting for the undisputed title in his next fight. Who that's against, we do not know. We hope it will be the winner of the main event on Saturday. I'd say something. How many times has he weighed in previously? He should be. Come on, lad. He's bumming. Take his phone out of his pocket. Come on, lad. Get on the scales. What's the matter with you, man?
Tom. Stop milking it.
Yeah.
No wonder Jones doesn't like him. He's trying to steal the spotlight.
There you go. Full weigh-in. Tom Aspinall, of course, it's 1 year since he did what he did to Sergey Pavlovich and became the interim champion. It must be very difficult for him there to actually prepare, because he's got to prepare for 2 fights, really, throughout the course of this camp, because he might have to step in.
I think in a situation like this, especially with the magnitude of the 2 potential opponents, you've just got to do the best you can do. You've just got to turn up in the best shape you can turn up in.
Yeah, that's it. You don't change a thing. If you're Tom, you're always trying to improve and get better and work on your skill set. The reality is Tom has the skills in every department to challenge both of those people. So just get yourself in the best shape possible. Stay focused. Stay on the straight and narrow. Don't be having late nights. Follow a strict diet. Step on the scale and hope for the best.
There you go. Maurizio Ruffi's just on the scales here. One of the elite fighters that are currently coming out. The hottest gym in the world. Fighting Nerds. Listen, we've been speaking to those guys throughout the course of the week, and they keep telling us, listen, you ain't seen nothing yet. There's plenty more to come in the Fighting Nerds gym.
Yeah, but Maurizio Ruffi, 10-1, this man is a finisher. He's got extremely powerful striking in every department, and I'm telling you right now, his opponent, James Yontop, a little unpredictable, a little reckless, a little wild, but that's why this is opening up the main card.
I won't say I'm biased in that fight, but as you can see, I am one of the Fighting Nerds.
No. So. You are a nerd.
Exactly, yeah. That's my tip. Don't blink, Maurizio Ruffi. This guy's got something very special planned for this fight, just like he did in his first fight. That is my tip for performance.
So here's what I've been doing, because I go the extra mile. I've been speaking to the Fighting Nerds, the one and only Kyle Borhayo, and he's told me all about the game plan. I don't want to delve into it too much, but he's going to take his time. He's going to wait and see what's offered to him.
Enjoy it.
He's going to knock him out in spectacular fashion.
Listen, don't miss it, because Maurizio Ruffi, there's a reason why he's kicking off the main card.
Absolutely.
Because he is super, super excited, as everybody is in that gym. I know that obviously the guys are just behind the camera there and you're having a little bit of a joke with it with the glasses, but in all seriousness, this gym has burst onto the scene, led by Kyle, and everything is just clicking. Iron sharpening iron, obviously. They're inspiring each other. They're trying to outdo each other every time they step inside the octagon. Yeah. So we're expecting big things tomorrow night.
Who was the lady that beat Molly McCann in Manchester? I forget her name now.
That's right.
Yeah, Bruno Brazil.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. She went down to the fighting nurse. That was by far her best performance.
Yeah.
And with respect to Molly, you know, she had a really strong performance. Yeah. She got the finish, and she was deadly right from the opening bell. The fighting nurse, these guys are breaking down fights, and they're just really coming at it with a very analytical approach. It's impressive.
No, very
every
impressive.
event as well.
Yeah.
Every event.
Yeah.
And glasses are coming out every event. Mega.
Oh, you should have seen it last week at the Apex. Jon Jones was there, Carlos Prates. We had Khalil Roundtree. They all had the glasses on. They're all taking over.
There you go. There you go. Just in case you just joined us, in the early afternoon back in the UK, it's early morning here in New York City. We're at the UFC 309 official weigh-ins in the Fighter Hotel. Obviously, all this goes down on TNT Sports box office tomorrow evening. 1 o'clock for the prelims, 3 o'clock in the morning for the main card. Make sure you come and join us for it. It looks like the towel's out here. Here we go. Let's see what's what here. Someone struggling with a bit of weight. And for those that have just joined us, you will notice that it is digital scales today. I always like the digital scales. Precise. Give me some precision.
It's Marcus McGee weighing in. He's got a 9-1 record, all finishes. 3 of those finishes coming in his last 3 fights as well here in the UFC.
It's a good fight, this, by the way.
It's a great fight. This is why it's the marquee fight on the prelims, of course.
135.6, the official weight for Marcus McGee.
Seemed all right.
Yeah, all good. All good. Jonathan Martinez yet to weigh in. Did miss weight in his last fight as well, so we'll try and keep an eye across that one. But
I think one thing that's worth mentioning is Charles Oliveira.
Yes.
He has struggled to make weight before, so I'm going to feel a lot better when he walks out here and steps on the scale and actually makes weight, because if there's one thing that's kind of plagued him a little bit, it has been the scale.
Yeah. Just on that, I've been in the sauna myself a couple of times this week. Just to do a bit of detoxing, and Mr. Oliveira was in there. He's looking all right, looking healthy, looking fit. All the interviews I've done with him this week, he's been corpus mentis. I think we're all right.
Oliveira's always, I mean, he's looking sharp these days.
Yeah.
You know, the teeth are shining, the suit is even brighter.
He's like
the Brazilian Joker walking around New York City.
That's a good shout.
Yeah,
that's probably the big out. That's probably the big out.
That's what he's going for.
Featured bout live on pay-per-view in the middleweight division. 18-time UFC veteran Paul Bear Jr.
Here he is.
Here's the main man. What an opportunity for Paul Craig. I mean, we kind of just touched upon it before everything kicked off today at the weigh-ins. Listen, he knows why he's here. He knows why he's on this card, and he knows why he's facing Bo Nickel. But if this ends up in the place that he wants this to end up, this could be a big night for Paul Craig.
A huge night for him. And as you say, he wants to be on his back anyway. We've seen that many times. In fact, he got a lot of stick in the Uzdemir fight for rolling on his back and trying to wave him in. He won't have to do that to Bo Nickel, because Bo Nickel will happily take him down. Don't be surprised, though, if this turns into a kickboxing match. That sometimes happens when you get a grappler, jiu-jitsu guys. We think we're going to get something, and actually it plays out another way. And Paul,
and it could be.
I'm happy to do that. He's happy to do that. He wants to show off his striking and how he's advanced in that.
And it's a pivotal moment in his career. Obviously, Paul's had some ups and some downs. He goes out there and beats Bo Nickel on pay-per-view, one of the biggest cards of the year. All of a sudden, forget about the losses that he had.
Yeah.
He's relevant again in the division, taking out a top prospect like Bo Nickel.
And you know what, Mike? This is his 19th UFC fight.
Yeah.
He's third now on the list of all-time British appearances beside this fella, Ross Pearson, and then Paul
That's
Craig.
incredible.
For a guy that when he first come in was like, I don't know whether I belong here, to have had 18 fights already is phenomenal.
There can only be one king. I'm sorry, guys. You know.
But what an achievement. I mean, we talk about, obviously, championship belts. We talk about championship fights and all that type of stuff. Longevity in this place is a big thing.
Yeah, and it's not
difficult.
just that. Every time you train for a fight, you learn more about yourself. Every time you face an opponent in the octagon, you tweak little things. And along the way, you get better and you slowly but surely perfect the craft. You know, you turn up the best version of yourself. You learn about your shortcomings. You know, maybe I'm not bringing my hand back to my face when I'm throwing a jab. I cut weight too much. I overtrained. The diet wasn't correct. You tweak it as you go along. That's why I became the champion at 37. You know, it's not done overnight. You can't just be a master at it straight away. That's why you got to respect people like Jon Jones, that is essentially undefeated throughout the entirety of his career.
Yeah, we've just seen Chris Weidman weigh in there, a man that's obviously been to the top and back at it at the age of 40 this weekend. This is his place. It's not been the luckiest of places for him, to be fair.
I would just love to see, obviously, New Jersey native. You know, we know we're at the back end of Chris Weidman's career right now. He's achieved phenomenal things. His Hall of Fame status, part of his career is kind of done. I think now he just wants the big sign-off, and the big sign-off is Madison Square Garden. Problem is, Mike, we tried this with Frankie Edgar how many times, and we just couldn't get him a win. He kept getting knocked out here.
Yeah, Chris has never had a win in Madison Square Garden. Of course, Yoel Romero got him as well.
Yeah.
Jacare Souza caught him with a right hand in a fight that he was winning. So, and that's what we love about Weidman. The guy doesn't play it safe. He was winning that fight. He could have taken him down, grinded it out, and got to the bell. But no, he chose to stand on the feet, and he got caught with the right hand. But that's the game.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, there is no room for sentiment in this sport.
No,
there's going to be a lot of people in Madison Square Garden absolutely wishing. Go on, give him one.
I'm one of them.
Listen, what great mental fortitude, because he had an horrific injury, a proper career ender.
Yeah.
One of the worst.
And he's back. He's managed to get himself fit. Back, 40 years of age. I mean, hats off just for that, to be able to make the walk.
For anyone that doesn't know, and you probably do, he snapped his leg throwing a leg kick. And not only did it snap, the bones were sticking out of the skin. I mean, it was a horrific injury. One of the worst that you can ever have. He was telling me all about it the other day. He was crying his eyes out. He was in howling agony. Dana came into the hospital. They flew him to the best place possible. He came back and recovered. Then he broke the other leg.
Yeah.
You know, so he's had really, really bad luck, but he's had a long career. He's had over 30 surgeries, and I know the feeling right now. I'm recovering from one as we speak. This sport is a cruel mistress. You can have the highest highs, the lowest lows, but eventually it takes a toll on the body.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Listen, when he makes that walk tomorrow, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people cheering him on, as you will be as well when you're watching it on TNT Sports Box Office. Main card, 3 o'clock. And, of course, on those prelims we get going from 1, make sure you come and join us for that little bit of a break in the action, which gives us a chance to obviously have a little bit of a speak about various things that have been going on throughout the whole course of the week. Lots of narrative in and around Jon Jones. We've seen Tom Aspinall weigh in, so we might as well talk about that now before obviously we get to the main event and Jon and Stipe come to join us.
Yeah.
Really good to hear this week clarity from Dana. I think there's been loads of, is it happening, is it not happening? And obviously a lot of that has come from questions that have been asked to Jon and the way that Jon has answered these questions. Yeah. What is going next? This is the UFC. The best guys fight the best guys. We remove all doubt. We don't have multiple belts. We get it done. We've got an undisputed champion. We've got an interim champion. Really good to hear from Dana White this week where he said, listen, the winner of the main event is going to fight Tom Aspinall. If they don't want to, sound, but Tom Aspinall is going to be fighting for the Undisputed Championship next.
Well, it would be offensive to Tom. It would be offensive to sport, to the fans in general, because this is how it should be. If there's a champion, Jon Jones, and there's an interim champion, they have to fight. Of course, the Stipe fight was originally booked.
Of course,
yeah. That's why Tom became the interim champion. It all makes sense. I can defend that. But Jon saying that he didn't want to fight Tom, to be honest, I was speechless. I was lost for words, and I didn't like it. As a competitor, as a fighter, as a man, if there's another guy with a belt on his shoulder that has a legitimate claim, you want to say, listen, that's the guy I want to fight. Not, oh, I don't want to give him an opportunity to build his legacy against me. That's just how it works. Jon had that opportunity when he faced all these legends, when he took the belt from Maurizio Shogun Rua. Yeah. Okay? They all gave him a chance for greatness. Right. You have to do the same thing. And if you think you're going to lose, well, suck it up, Buttercup. You got to give it a go.
Yeah. Just some of his answers this week have obviously raised questions with the audience, and if you just compare the resumes of Jon Jones pre-Shogun to where Tom is at right now. So Jon had, I think he's had 7 fights. There you go, it's on the screen for you right now. So he's had 7 fights. Yes, that one loss is contentious with the DQ, but it's 6-1. He's got 4 finishes in there, 2 of those first round, 2 fight night bonuses. Whereas you compare that to Tom, 9 fights, 8-1, and that's a contentious loss as well, let's be straight. All 8 finishes, 7 in the first round, 7 fight night bonuses. He has more than earned the right to be fighting for the championship.
And against heavyweights.
Yeah.
Big heavyweights, strong heavyweights. Remember, Sergey Pavlovich, this was a guy that was knocking everybody out. People were terrified of him.
Right.
Tom beat him at his own game, knocked him out cold. To stand there and say, well, what he's done is not that impressive. He's not worthy. That's a lie. It's crazy. There's no defending that statement whatsoever.
Yeah, I thought you made a great point yesterday, Mike, when we were talking about it, and you said, you've got to understand how experienced Jon is. He is the GOAT for a reason. 16 consecutive title fights. Like, he knows this game inside and out, and he also knows the power of the negotiating table. And to push things away, knowing full well the UFC needs to come back, if he's successful this weekend, and say, right, Tom Aspinall's next. And these are the figures that make it make sense. It may well be a negotiating tactic
Maybe.
all this week. It wouldn't surprise me from Jon that he played everybody all week, that he, in his heart of hearts, he's always thinking, I will continue, and it will be Aspinall.
We are proud guys as fighters. We want to be known as the baddest man, as the champion, as one of the best fighters walking the face of the earth. We want to feel that and know that in ourselves, but we also crave that from the fans. And I think the fact that he said that, I think he made a mistake. I think he's putting out a message there that isn't what people want to see. They don't want to hear that from a champion. Even if you don't believe it, you say, I'll smoke this guy. I'll destroy this guy. He's not on my level. But in private, to close doors, you could say to the UFC, well, listen, we're going to have to renegotiate my deal, because if I'm going to fight him, it's going to be a big event. I want more money. But don't publicly say, nah, I don't want to fight him. Which, again, in another roundabout way, I do respect. I do respect it, because at least he's honest, as opposed to, you know, lying. I've done that. You know, you're like, oh, yeah. I'm going to destroy this guy. But inside, you're like, oh, I don't know about this.
Exactly,
It's going to be a hard one.
Well, that's the fight game.
Yeah.
I think there was a moment this week where he was being heavy on Alex Pereira, saying, if I fight on, it'll be Alex Pereira. He's the same age as me, same size as me, you know, and he's done this, and this. And legacy-wise, it means more sense to me. And I was like, oh, my, he's really pushing. He is actually going to circumnavigate Tom. He's going to go all in on Pereira. But there was a moment late yesterday where he started talking about Derek Lewis, when he started talking about
Jamal Hill.
Hill. With all due respect to those guys, that's when I went, wait a minute, I think Jon's trolling us now. I think he's winding us up. Do you know what I mean? To pull those two names out of the air and say those meant more to him as legacy fights than potential Tom Aspinall, I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I think he might be trolling us here, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but I don't think he is. I think he's looking at Derek Lewis, who has the most knockouts in the history of the company, so that's like a box that he wants to tick. He's talking about Alex Pereira, because, of course, it will be a huge fight, and there's a glaring weakness, just kind of like Cyril Gane.
Yeah.
He's talking like somebody that's lost his belt and going to have a few more fun fights before they retire. He's an active champion. Sounds like I'm being really hard on Jon Jones. I have so much respect for what he's done inside the octagon. So much. What he's done is unbelievable. But it's been pretty unbelievable what he's been saying.
He's got to come through this guy, the former champ.
He looks in great shape.
He looks fantastic.
The most decorated heavyweight.
Nice and big as well. So
heavier as well from last time.
Yeah, well, he dropped. If you look at his state of play on the scales, he was around this size when he was UFC champion, when he was heavyweight champion. Then he dropped the weight to fight DC. And I think the meaning there was, I don't need to be this so much bigger than DC. He was more of a natural light heavyweight. I want to be a little bit lighter on my feet. I want to be able to get my movement around a little bit more. And he had a bit more experience. And I think it worked for him so well against DC. He decided to keep the weight off for Francis Ngannou. And ultimately, did it play a part? Maybe it didn't. I think this time around he's thinking, I want to be the bigger man against Jon Jones. I want to feel like I'm the bigger man. And those extra 15 pounds, 20 pounds or whatever will bode me well inside the octagon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's who Jon's got to come through. One man that has actually come through the Stipe Miocic challenge in England. In Nottingham it was. Is this man, the skyscraper.
Stefan Struve, the skyscraper. Let's go, buddy. How are you?
How are you, buddy? You good?
Hey, guys.
I've never felt so small.
You've obviously faced the puzzle and the challenge that was Stipe Miocic.
Lifetime ago, though.
Well, you know, you still did, and you came through it and you beat him. So talk to me about that preparation for him. What does Stipe do really well when he's in that octagon?
I think, you know, he's got the perfect style to be a really tough test for Jones tomorrow. He's going to have to pressure him. And if you want to pressure Jon Jones, you're going to stop the takedowns. And he's got the wrestling. He's got the strength. He's got the chin, although he had years ago. And we haven't seen him for a while, but I think that break after the Ngannou fight will be good for him after that knockout. And I think he's going to come forward. He's going to... The good thing about this fight for Stipe is he doesn't really have to worry about the punching power of Jon Jones. You have to worry about kicks, elbows, oblique kicks, different thing. But if you get in that reach, you can make it really difficult for him, something DC showed in that second fight up until the head kick. But, yeah, he does a lot of things really well. So I'm really excited for this fight, especially after seeing him weigh in.
Looks great,
the shape he's in, but...
What kind of approach are you expecting from Jon Jones? I think he's going to play it safe to start. He's going to try and disengage from the strikes and being in the pocket. But I think when they do engage, he's going to look to clinch and, as you say, use the knees and the elbows.
Yeah, you know, it's something I did a lot when I pressured him. We had that hand fight battle, so I was like pushing him the entire time. I think that's something that Jones does really well, of course. He uses that to set up his elbows. He uses that to set up his takedowns. So definitely very interesting to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
By using MMA logic, then, if Stipe Miocic knocks out the GOAT Jon Jones, does that go on your resume as well, Stefan? You know, kind of like, I beat him, he beat him. Basically, I beat the GOAT, yeah.
No, it's a nice win, and there's always a lot of... I always get tagged in, like, a ton of things, and fans send me a lot of things during Stipe's fights, and whenever, you know, like, it's...
There you go, Stefan.
Here
Look
we
at the
go.
screen. We'll put it on the screen
Let's
for
have
you,
a
pal.
look.
There you
Boom.
go.
Oh, yes.
Right hand.
There you go.
And another.
Oof.
Uppercut.
Oof.
Left hook.
Look at that man there.
Oh, my goodness, what's Herb waiting for?
Yeah, come on. And you did Nottingham as well. You did it.
Yeah.
You did that in the UK,
Yeah.
sir. Look at that.
Crazy, it's already 12 years ago.
What a shot that one is. The right hand is absolutely deadly. There you go.
I was just a better man that night, and then, like, not long after that, he went on to do great things. Became the champ a couple years later, and yeah, happy to see him be that successful.
I want to get your opinion on the co-main event as well. Obviously, now working as an analyst, I've no doubt that you've absolutely picked this to pieces. The first one was so good.
Yeah.
I want it to kind of be the exact same. But do you think either man's going to be a little bit more considered with their approach in the fight with Charles and Michael?
I think that, you know, when you analyze the fight and you think of what they would like to have done different, like with Chandler, he went for the guillotine, and not long after, he had Charles Oliveira on his back. So when something like that comes up, like, are you going to pull guard again for that guillotine? I don't think so. I think that's something they worked on really hard. And, of course, he's a great wrestler. So I think Michael Chandler just does what Michael Chandler does. Just
Which is
simple
great.
as that.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, before, you know, I heard Henry talk about it this week too. It's difficult now and then, but it's also what makes him so exciting and good.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, sometimes he, you know, at a certain point in the fight, he just lets go of the game plan and just goes.
But he's ready for all areas, regardless
Oh, yeah.
of wherever the fight goes. He can push a pace for 5 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever the case may be. He can redline the whole time, and he's got no weak areas. That's why he does that, because he's like, you know what? Wherever it goes, I'm solid.
It's crazy because he really was one strike. Like if
one shot.
If one shot landed when he had Charles down in that first round, he would have been the champ. So you know, like we know if you're in there, like 1 second can change the whole fight. So
Has he found out in that? Because 19 seconds into the second round, after nearly having him out of there,
that's crazy.
He's beating himself.
When you hear Henry talk to him, and then like you fast forward 30 seconds, it's like
what happened?
What happened? It's crazy. So.
It is. It's a wild game. What else are you looking forward to on this card?
Paul Craig, of course.
Of course.
You cannot not be excited about that fight, even though, like, I think it's he's got a very small chance of pulling it off, but there's always the triangle.
Of
so
course.
can he pull it off? So we're gonna watch that. Rufi.
Yep.
Big fan.
He's got a nice, really nice spot to open up the main card. I think UFC recognizes that he could be something special, and he's got a really exciting style. I'm surprised Chris Weidman's not on the main card, especially at this point in his career. We don't know how long he's going to be around.
But the thing is, fight sports is a cruel mistress because they build you up, and then after a while, you become the guy that builds the other people up. And right now, it's a big fight card. He's on the prelims. He's got a featured spot. He's going to be on TV. A lot of people are going to tune in for that.
Oh, 100%.
The main card, they want to save it to build up the new stars and to sell the pay-per-view with the likes of Jon Jones. It's just a sad reality.
Yeah.
We could have a new star at the, what is it, flyweight division for the women, right?
Yeah.
Karine Silva, she's got 17 over 18 wins by knockout or submission.
Unbelievable.
So it's very exciting to watch her fight. And it's a good thing with a card like this when it's headlined by 2 absolute legends already of the sport, and you have a co-main event like that, and then they give the spot to up-and-comers like that.
Yeah.
You can generate stars immediately.
Exactly.
Of course.
So
Just before I let you go, Stefan, what have you made of the conversation this week in and around that main event? Nice to hear Dana obviously confirmed that Tom's going to get that shot next against the winner of this, but what have you made of, for example, Jon's approach to media questions and answers this week, saying, I don't want to fight that guy?
I was talking about that with everybody. It's almost like Stipe is overlooked. Like, people aren't really talking about Stipe. You know, I think it's a good thing for him because that's been the case for most of his career. He's been the underdog in his fights. And for the Jones and Aspinall thing, I think the biggest pop from the crowd, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
How popular Tom already is right now, and he can be a superstar. I think he already is. He's got all the tools to be maybe the best heavyweight ever. He's got a lot of time left. So the unfortunate thing with the heavyweight division right now is the fights that everybody wants to see aren't happening soon.
Yeah.
So the number one contender fight, I think, in 3 weeks is Gane and Volkov.
Yeah.
And Volkov already, it would still be an interesting fight if he fights Tom again.
Yeah.
And I would still love to see Gane and Tom fight for that stand-up
Of
battle.
course.
But come on, everybody wants to see Tom and Jones.
Of course.
If he gets that win for the heavyweight division, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
He's got enough time to become a star and beat everybody. But if you beat a legend like that, not only John, but even if he beats Stipe,
of course.
People are not talking about it. If
Of course.
Stipe wins tomorrow, that fight is there too. So
That's the fight. Whoever wins tomorrow night versus Tom Aspinall is absolutely the fight, isn't it?
I hope so. I really do hope so.
But we're going to have to wait. I think we'll probably see Tom defend the interim strap before he gets a chance to unify them, because John's strength of schedule, he takes his time. He doesn't fight too frequently.
It'll be international
he
fight
won't
week
fight this year. It'll be
at
next summer or even this time next year before he comes back.
Yeah.
And if Tom wants to stay active, he's going to have to fight again, which is really dangerous, because you can lose anytime you step in there, regardless how good you are.
Yeah.
We all know, and especially at heavyweight.
Especially,
one shot changes everything.
At this point in his career, he doesn't want to sit out too long. He fought in July, and he only fought, was it like a little over a minute?
69 seconds or something.
Made it look easy.
Yeah.
So you want him to be in there and get that feel and build on him. And, unfortunately, as I said before, it seems like it's not going to happen, but maybe Dana can convince John with
an extra
Money
zero on the
talks.
check.
I know.
Money talks.
We all know that, so hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Listen, thank you, my man. Thank you for joining us on the
always.
show. We'll let you
Always
get
a
on
pleasure.
with the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. The one and only
Cheers,
Stefan Struve, just giving us a little bit of expert opinion, in particularly on Stipe, a man that has a victory over Stipe. In fact, I think, I'm just thinking everybody else that Stipe has lost to, he's rematched and avenged.
Correct.
Not that man.
No.
There you go.
And he'll always have that in his locker as well, Stefan. Keep that one tucked away. Bring it out.
Absolutely,
When the
mate.
grandkids want to know, I'll let you know.
I'll be the greatest of all time. There you go. If you just joined us for the official Wayne Show, we're in the Fighter Hotel here in New York City. I can tell you that we haven't seen Mr. Jones as of yet. He's not hit the scales, but Stipe's come through, looked absolutely incredible. What was he, 17 pounds heavier than he was previously.
Does that mean right now, for the briefest of moments, Miocic Aspinall is
That's the fight.
headlining?
There you go.
Yeah, let's just calm down a little bit. Jon Jones is fighting at heavyweight. He's not cutting weight.
At
Remember,
all.
this fight's going to be very late in New York. Right? It's going to be about 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
Yeah.
Therefore, have a lie-in. You don't want to mess up your sleep pattern. He's going to rock in here in the final couple of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Sadly.
We're still waiting for Mr. Jones. We've seen Stipe. We're still waiting for Charles Oliveira. I know that you've expressed a few concerns because he has, it is a struggle for him to hit that weight. He's a big boy, is Charles, so we're still waiting for him. We're waiting for Bo Nickel and James Yontop as well. That's the main card. Everybody else has come through, even Tom Aspinall, the backup fighter. We've seen him on the scales. He looked incredible as well. From the prelims, just waiting for Robert Romero. We're marching Ty Burr. We haven't seen Oban Elliott yet, and his opponent Basil Hafez, and Veronica Hardy still waiting for her to come through as well, which leaves me on nicely. Let's talk about the British contingent. We've spoken about Paul, of course, and wax lyrical about him. Oban Elliott, man. He absolutely owns Fight Week. Every time I see him, he's got a massive grin on his face, loving life. I think he's been on the sunbed a couple of times because the tan's looking good as well as the boy. But when you think of his journey over the last 18 months, from where he was to where he is fighting at Madison Square Garden, what a ride, man. Go and enjoy yourself.
It's insane, and every time either bump into him or bump into Shaky Shaw, hopefully we'll see Shaky at some point today. It's his birthday today, Shaky.
Is it?
Yeah. But every time I see him, I'm like, where's Oban? He's wandering the streets of New York.
Yeah.
He's sucking it all in. And I've seen him just wandering around down by Times Square, just on his own, just taking it all in. This is a guy that, earlier in the week I sat down and spoke to him. He said, 2 years ago, I was watching UFC on my phone, working in the back of a chicken shop, washing plates. That was my job. I was pot washing overnight to make money so I could change on the day. My life has changed now. I'm in the UFC because I'm a full-time athlete. I'm a professional now. I'm living my dream. So he said, there's no pressure on me. I don't feel any pressure now. The pressure was getting here. That's when I felt pressure. Now I'm here. I'm just going to enjoy it, and I'm going to show the world that I'm going to be one of the best in the world. And I'm like,
but it's an incredible feeling as well. I mean, he's from the Welsh Valleys, Murphyttville. Now he's walking around Times Square, New York City, in the best combat sports promotion that the world's ever seen. And he's winning fights, and he's doing it impressively. His opponent last time out, Preston Parsons, not an easy guy to beat. And typically for English fighters, the kryptonite is wrestling, because we don't wrestle in school. Yes, we can learn to wrestle, and we can access good coaches, and we improve throughout the duration of our fight career. But he was in there at the deep end, and he beat Preston Parsons at his own game, stopped the takedowns, got some takedowns of his own. This man's always in shape. He's a natural fighter. He loves being in there, and I could not be happier for this guy, because he's such a sweet guy.
Yeah. I want to know what his walkout. He's big WWE fan, isn't he? He's going to play to this American crowd.
He'll do something like that.
He'll have a little bit of Hulk Hogan going on or something.
I think this is a step-up opponent as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alvarez is a tough guy. This is a guy that made his debut at late notice against Jack Della Maddalena, one of the top 10 welterweights on the planet, and pushed it all the way out to the judges' scorecard. That was a close fight of the night it got as well. So since then, he's bounced back. He's had a win, of course. He looks strong, and you'd say Anthony Smith trains with him, and everybody in the gym raves about the kid.
They're very, very high on him. Well-rounded skills, big, strong, tough, takes a good shot, lands a good shot. It's going to be a tough test for Oban Elliott, but I think just from what I've seen so far, from the 2 fights that he has had in the UFC, I think he's just going to be a little quicker. The speed's going to play a big factor. I'm leaning towards Oban in that one for sure.
And this leads me on nicely to talk about Veronica. There you go. Mrs. Hardy, just hitting the scales. I mean, since she has found a base, regular coaching, obviously she's working with Dan.
Since she became Mrs. Hardy, she's unbeatable.
I think slightly before that as well. But since she was flying around the world, going in all these different gyms, and it just didn't click. Now she's got a base. It's clicked, obviously, with Dan, not only as a husband, but as a coach as well. She's putting some performances together. Yeah. Looking really good.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at her natural ability, the Taekwondo background, their understanding of range management, but then you, as you said, now you're working with somebody that's treating you as an individual project, as opposed to going to a gym and being part of a class. She's been taken to one side. Dan's got experience at the highest level. He's been there for a very, very long time, and he can teach her through it, not only physically, but mentally, and mentor through the entire journey. And I believe that's the difference that we're seeing.
Yeah, and it's working in the octagon.
It is working inside the octagon, but again, another tough Brazilian opponent. You know, Moura comes to the octagon with a 10-1 record with 9 finishes. You know, it's not like Veronica Hardy's having it easy, but her evolution inside the octagon is plain for all to see. She's just become the fighter maybe she was always destined to be. But she ain't getting any easy ones.
And she's a good wrestler. Moira's a very good wrestler. Hardy uses the Taekwondo, so that's going to be the game plan, plain and simple. Moira's going to look to take her down, and she's relentless with that, by the way. She goes for so many takedowns, one after the other. So it's a definite clash of styles in that one.
Yeah, but she's used to setting the pace now, is Veronica, isn't she? She's been, as you would say, what is it, the curtain jerker? Is what you the first fight of the night, and she's going to be first on the prelims. But this has happened a few times. She's been getting opportunities on these big cards, and normally, fingers crossed, touch wood, when Veronica Hardy is on a card, it does set the tone for a good night.
It does.
So fingers crossed.
She's first in. She wins in spectacular fashion. She gets the crowd going, and we're up and running then.
That's it.
Long may it continue.
There you go. So we do have the British interest in there. Veronica Hardy. We're claiming her as British now that she's Mrs. Hardy, of course. Oban Elliott, and then on to Paul Craig. So plenty for British fight fans to get excited about as we build up towards that main event of Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. If you just joined us, we're still waiting for Jones. That's what we're doing. We've seen Tom Aspinall come through as the backup fighter, and we've seen Stipe Miocic on the scales looking absolutely incredible. You're going to want more information on when you can actually watch all this, don't you? Prelims, 1 o'clock, Saturday, early hours of Sunday morning. Make sure you come and join us on TNT Sports box office for that. And the main card gets going from 3. I want to talk about Madison Square Garden as a venue. We were in there yesterday. I could see, when you're in there, I could see your face just light up a little bit, because obviously you've experienced it. You've been there, you've done it, you've walked the halls of the Muhammad Ali's and the Joe Frazier's. You've fought in the place that they did that as well. For a lot of these fight fans, now that we're allowed into New York since 2016, it feels right that MMA is in New York City, in the iconic venue, especially with the way that the sport has grown so much. Now that it's been ticked off, for these fighters to experience that history you could just see it on their faces of what it means to people.
Yeah, it really is something special. They call Las Vegas the fight capital of the world. New York is the media capital of the world. So you compete at Madison Square Garden, your profile goes through the roof.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, there are some of the legendary fights that have taken place there. You see it in movies, you see it spoken about and spoken in such high regard from other fighters, from boxing historians and journalists and all the rest of it. And then as a fighter, when you get there, you walk in, you can just feel it when you're walking down the halls and you see all the posters of like Muhammad Ali and legendary fights that have taken place there. You're just thrilled to be taking, to be competing there. And then you're also, it's like you step back for a second, you're like, wow. How have I got here?
Kid from
this
Clitheroe,
is crazy.
man.
A kid from Clitheroe or wherever you're from, like Oban Elliott coming from the valleys, and now he's competing in Madison Square Garden. That alone is something to be extremely proud of, something they'll take to the grave, tell all the children about when they're older. It's an incredible accomplishment.
And, listen, I said this to Stipe earlier this week when I sat down with him. I would have said it to Mr. Jones if I'd got to sit down with him as well.
He didn't want to do that.
No, but it doesn't feel right for either of these, given what they've achieved in MMA, to have not have MSG ticked off their resume. This is the first time that they will have experienced that.
Of course. Well, a lot of that is the reason why we only came in 2016. This will be the first time Stipe's fought in front of a crowd since 2019 as well, because at the back end of his career, when he lost the belt and then regained the belt and got knocked out, that was all behind closed doors. That was during COVID. That was at the apex, believe it or not. So for Stipe, it's been a long time since he's walked out in front of 20,000 people and heard that roar. And likewise, Jon Jones, being a New Yorker, he's from this state. This is his original neighborhood. There'll be a lot of people coming down from upstate New York to support Jon Jones, who know him personally. And to him, as a young man growing up, you know, Madison Square Garden, as you say, one of the most famous venues, arguably the most famous arena in the world. If you're born and bred from this state, then of course the dream is to one day do your thing at Madison Square Garden. Jon Jones, as you say, does it this weekend, potentially for the last time.
Well, exactly, potentially for the last time, because what a send-off that would be. You're from New York, you have this legendary career, you defend the belt 15 times, you move up to another weight class, you become the champion at heavyweight. I mean, it's almost like a cinematic movie-like ending to defend the heavyweight strap in Madison Square Garden, put the gloves down, thank the audience. It's what every single fighter dreams of. It's what we dream of. We think about it. We lie there in bed at night as we start getting a bit older and think, what is the ideal scenario? This is the ideal scenario. So it's like, what is going to happen? Because we've seen that Dana said 100% he's fighting Tom Aspinall next. That might force him to say, you know what, I'm going to put the gloves down. Unless there's another conversation. Because right now, this is the perfect ending.
Yeah, absolutely. Get your glasses out. Put them on. Because the Chief's coming now, all right?
Mega.
There you go. Let's welcome to the show, Caio Borralho. Come through, my friend. Look at this. Look what you started now, Caio. Look what you started.
Look at that. Now he's a fighting head. You know.
Oh, we're going to go. Come on, we've got to go. We've got to go. Love that.
I always have more.
Okay, there you go. We'll do the full thing
we
then with the glasses
for
on.
everybody in our team, you know.
What do you reckon, gang? Hey, we're looking good. We've been speaking about the gym and how hot the gym is right now. This weekend, the focus is Rufi. Talk to me about him and how impressed you have been with his rise in the UFC.
Rufi is a phenomenal guy, you know, like he always, you know, I was telling you guys like about the scissors that he did in Rio. 2 years before he went to the UFC, he was already training there and saying like, I'm going to do that in my debut in the UFC, and he did it. So that's the kind of guy that he is, you know. He's very unorthodox. He can knock anybody out at any time, you know. He does a lot of crazy things in the gym, you know, a lot of acrobacies and all this stuff. So
well, that's good for the fans. The fans love that. They love to see that entertainment.
He knows that. He knows that. He's an entertainer guy, you know. So I'm very like proud of how his career is rising in the UFC. All the guys from the gym, but especially Rufi, like one fight, he's already in a big pay-per-view card and, you know, fighting in the main card. So very happy for him. I'm looking forward to his performance on Saturday.
I'm on the road going everywhere, and everywhere I go, I see you, I see the Fighting Nerds, Abu Dhabi, Las Vegas, New York, wherever it is, you are there. You are like the team captain, one of the coaches, of course. And you're on the cusp of great things. Caio, what is next for you? Have we got any plans yet?
It's coming. Actually, I was thinking about this a lot, you know, because I wanted to fight against Adesanya, but he chose Imavov to fight. So I think are like
Okay.
doing
do
this
that.
fight.
Oh, breaking news right there, is that?
I
we're getting it from the
I
man.
think he posted a clip studying him of upstate. So he did
Okay.
his choice, you know.
Okay.
So I was wondering because I heard that Strickland doesn't want to fight in Australia.
Yes.
So I'm definitely in to go to Australia and get my belt, you know, to fight Dricus over there, fight in Australia. And I'm going there to knock him out. I'm not going to shoot any takedowns just like I did with Cannonier. And I think I can knock the guy out. All respect to him and what he's been doing in the division, but I think it's my time now, and I'll be ready to fight in Australia. If the UFC let me go, if the UFC want me there, if nobody wants to go to Australia, I'm the one. Call the Fighting Nerds.
We've been talking a lot about
Love
Madison
that.
Square Garden and what a legendary venue is. Does that resonate down in Brazil? Do the people down there, are they aware of what a special place it is, the venue this weekend, Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, definitely. Like myself, I always wanted to fight in Madison Square Garden. So, but I'm just corner here, you know.
Yeah,
so everybody does know how big the venue is, how the greatest fighters already fought there. So definitely everybody's aware of this. How big this division is, you know?
The noise in the room right now is because Charles Oliveira is about to hit the scales. Obviously, one half of the co-main event.
There we go.
There you go.
Wow.
Can I get your thoughts on him? I mean,
Charles?
Oh
yes,
my
listen.
goodness.
I mean,
You know.
Brazil just churns out amazing fighters. He's up there with some of the.
He's a global superstar. So him, Brazil, he must be like a national hero.
I don't think he can even get out of his house, you know, in peace, you know, because he's very big there. He's a legend over there. I'm a big fan of him myself, you know. So definitely Charles is like an example to everybody that came from down under and then fulfill their dreams, you know, and doing good in life, you know, doing good to his family. I think every fight, because in Brazil, you know, most of fighters come from a like very down under situation, you know. So everybody looks forward to him and see him as an example of how you can change your situation and go for better things, you know.
And his story within the UFC, it's not all been smooth. He's been beaten, he's had some bumps, but he's dusted himself off, changed a few things, reinvented himself, and now look at him, man. Absolutely.
That's how Charles Oliveira is. He's always making things good, you know, always getting from the bottom to the top. You know?
Absolutely.
The coming back to Fighting Nerds, it seems like every weekend at the moment, Kyle, you guys are stealing the show.
Taking over.
Are we seeing the just the tip of the iceberg? Is there more to come from the gym in the future?
Bro.
You know, what are your mats like?
Man, there's a lot of good guys over there. A lot. I'm saying a lot because I think we have like 6 or 7 guys UFC ready. You know, 170.
That are not in the UFC yet?
They're not in the UFC yet. I think like 6 or 7 that I can say all their names. They are ready to go on the top level of the sport in the UFC. You know, so definitely we're looking forward for next year. We put like 4 or 5 more in the UFC. You know, like we're training a lot, we're studying a lot, we're putting all in this game. You know, so and there's no ego inside our gym. You know, so everybody can work together as a team. So we have a lot more coming, boys.
We need a UFC Fight Night Sao Paulo next year.
That's what we need.
We need a TNT Sports special on the Fighting Nerds. I'm doing it. I'm going down. I'm signing myself up. I'll buy my own ticket. I'm going to come check it out.
Please, you guys are more than welcome in our gym, you know, like it's a very nice place to be, you know, a good energy all the time. Everybody that goes there always says about the energy, how we treat everybody as family, even though we don't know the guy, you know, so you guys are more than invited. It will be an honor to have all you guys over there.
I'm going to bring the kids down as well because they train. Do you do kids classes as well? Or is it professionals only?
There's few kids classes there, MMA, amateur classes and all that.
Nice.
More than welcome, brother.
I'll be coming to see you.
Yeah, come on.
Kyle, listen, congratulations on all the success so far.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed you get that fight that you've just called for.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to that.
Come on,
Let's
guys.
go.
Pray for me.
Enjoy the rest of your day, my man.
bro.
Take care. There you go.
Thank
Kyle
you,
Morello,
thank you. It was an honor.
top
Thank
contender in the
you.
middleweight
Thank you so
division.
much.
We are going to bring in a man that is competing on the card at the weekend at Madison Square Garden. The one, the only, Berdew himself, Mr. Paul Craig.
The Berdew.
Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good, mate.
How are you doing? That's the question.
Bring on, you're looking good.
Come on, mate.
Do you want me to take them?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Keep them there. Keep them there. There you go.
How are you doing? How was the cut? first
Cut
and
was good.
foremost?
You know, every time you like to get a little bit better and make things a little bit easier. I think we made this one harder. We put on more muscle. We added meat into our diet, which was a good thing because that means we've got more muscle. And in theory, we should be able to produce more power.
Okay.
That's the theory. But
Muscle was a bit heavy.
yes, so then when you start cutting that, it becomes a little bit more difficult. But everything we do, we make sure we assess, we don't guess. And thanks to guys like my nutritionist.
The extra protein, of course, is for the muscle, as you say, and that's because Bo Nickel, whilst not only being technically impressive, is a special athlete as well.
Yes, he most certainly is. He's this new breed of guys who can't make it in their own sport and are deciding to come over to mixed martial arts. We've seen it with Carla Harris.
Yeah.
Kayla Harrison, yeah.
Is a judo practitioner.
Yeah.
We've got Bo, who is now coming over from wrestling to mixed martial arts. And I think you're going to see it more. This sport is beautiful. The UFC and what they produce is some of the best fighters in the world. So if you're the top guy in your division, one wrestling team, why would you not want to come over here and train?
Do you fully expect him to take you down and test you on the ground, or you think he's going to use the wrestling to stand?
I don't believe he's going to try and take me down. I think it's a silly move for him. When you think about wrestling as a sport, their whole game plan is to pin you on your back.
Yep.
That's a bad situation to put me in. You know, if you spend 15 minutes with me lying on my back, there's a very good chance I'm catching a submission. There's few men who have been in the octagon with me and put me in that position and survived. Bo Nickel, I don't believe, has the experience, but I've said that a few times in my career, and sometimes it comes back and bites you in the backside, and sometimes you look like you've cut a nice promo.
When you look at him on the feet, how do you assess his striking?
Incredibly powerful. Likes to rush in. Sometimes a wee bit too eager to engage, looking to fling heavy hands, and I think that's where we're going to use our footwork, use that range, use the heavy kicks that I've showcased in fights before.
Yep.
When I have lost, I've only lost to guys that are in top 15.
No, of course.
Bo Nickel hasn't been tested. We don't know what he's like in these 15 minutes.
Of course.
No.
And the level of opposition that he has faced has been nowhere near what you have. No disrespect to him or his career. You know, he's being groomed with that some easier fights for him to get experience. As you just mentioned, and as we know, you've been there in the deepest of waters.
I love it. This is why I get in this sport, was for fighting. We don't get into be given or gifted fights. Sometimes when you're in that octagon and you've maybe not gone your way and you're thinking, I wish I had an easier fight going forward. But this is what gets me out of bed. This is why I'm still in the sport. This is why I'm always looking to improve, and I'm not just going through the motions to being a fighter. The days are not happening for me. Do
you remember that interview that you did with him when you started this journey? And you were talking about, well, you know, I might have 2, might have 3 in the UFC. Let's see what the
Don't know
crack
whether
is.
they belong. I think it was the actual words Paul come out with. I don't know whether they belong here.
Mate,
I know.
We're rocking and rolling in Madison Square Garden at the weekend. What is it, 19
19
deep? 19 deep now, mate.
See, when he said that to me, I was like, it's been some journey. I've had more fights in the UFC than I have outside of the UFC.
Yeah.
I came here very inexperienced, tried to hone my craft, to know who I was as a fighter and know what works for me in the octagon. In the UFC, that's like a difficult job. It's a hard day job to be doing.
Mate, there's only Ross and him. We're more, from a British point of view, we're more fights in the UFC. That's absolutely wild.
It's some good company.
It is. What's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself on that journey, Paul?
For a long time, I was trying to be somebody else. I was trying to be like, when you look at social media and you look at when you speak to pundits and you speak to people, and everybody's got their 2 cents, if you will, and they'll be like, Paul Craig should be doing this, Paul Craig should be doing this. Paul Craig should be doing what got him to the dance in the first place.
Correct.
And what got Paul to the dance was nothing but triangle attacks, crazy jiu-jitsu, and imposing my will and taking guys into the deep end. So why would I try and change something that got me here in the first place?
Final thing from me. Are you going to allow him to put the face paint on later on when you guys hit the scales? How
good would that be? How good would that be? I think
you're going to have to join him, mate. You're going to have to.
Started a trend.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to.
Kyle's giving us the glasses there. We're going to have to do this. Next time you come, we'll all have to get the face paint, Mike.
Well, maybe
Maybe
it'll be in London. It'll be on some home soil. We'll all be standing here.
I never thought about that. The timing's perfect.
I know.
November, March, 4 months.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Right, it's a deal. Full face paint. You're not doing it.
So don't blink. That's about the 4th time now I've heard you use the word triangle. You mentioned the presser as well. The triangle's coming, baby.
Yep.
That's it. Listen.
Thanks
Enjoy
so much,
the rest
guys.
of your day, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day, Paul. Top man.
Thank
there you
you,
go.
sir.
Paul Craig, big fight. Bo Nickel, the man that's going to be standing across from him in the octagon at Madison Square Garden. The stats do not lie. That man has got numbers for days. And it's nice to see a fighter that knows exactly who they are
Comfortable
now.
in his own skin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going, listen, I know what this kid can do, and I know that there's dangers in this particular fight, but I'm dangerous, and I'm going to try and put him in my world.
And the thing about Paul is that it's always exciting. Because we know, because it's not a cliche, it's not an overused expression. There's always that threat of the submission. That's why he's so comfortable going to his back. And every single time somebody's engaging with him on the ground, it's edge of your seat stuff because he's split seconds away from getting the fight finishing move.
Only of those 18 fights as well, only 2 have been to the judges. You know, he is Mr. Entertainment. There's a reason why he's got so many performance bonuses. And okay, it is a little bit of a kill or be killed kind of mentality. But I just think this fight, this opponent, what Bo Nickel brings suits Paul Craig. If he can get his leg kicks going, he just needs to get his kicking game really working early doors and let Bo Nickel know he's in a real fight. Because I don't think Bo Nickel has had a real fight yet. Hopefully Paul Craig can give it to him.
Well, we're going to find out tomorrow night, aren't we? Make sure you come and join us for that, just in case you are wondering what is going on here at the official weigh-ins in the Fighter Hotel. We're still waiting for Jon Jones. I'm just looking down that main card right now. James Yontop, who was a replacement opponent for Rufi, hasn't hit the scales as of yet. So that's the main card. We haven't had Jon Jones and we haven't had James Yontop. We are still waiting for Basil Hafez and Oban Elliott fighting each other. They're the only 2 from the prelims, early prelims, that we haven't seen. Everybody else has come through. Everybody else has been on weight, which is good. We're just waiting for Mr. Jones, the man that this card has been built around. One man that did hit the scales is the interim heavyweight champion, Mr. Tom Aspinall. I can see him now. He's giving us the eyes. Let's bring him in, shall we? Come on, pal. Here he is. There you go.
I'm doing, Tom.
All right.
What's that in your mouth?
Oh, he's gone full Benson Henderson.
Toothpick.
That's it.
It's a toothpick.
Oh, come on.
Available now on Pick'ems. Make sure you check it out. Thanks for the support, Mike. I heard your little cheer then.
Of course.
Yeah,
come
thank
on,
you.
mate,
Thank you.
come on.
How's the preparation been for this? Because it's a weird one. You're a backup fighter. There's 2 guys in the main event with differing styles. You will have had to do a proper camp, I suppose. What's the mentality like when you're preparing for something like this?
So it's a little bit different for me. Me and my team, what we like to do is we like to get an opponent and work to a game plan for the training camp. That's what we do. When I spar to a game plan. Yeah, exactly. Even if we're throwing guys in with different styles, I'm working on what I'm doing to fight a specific guy. I'm not trying to win rounds in the gym, really. I'm trying to improve to fight this one particular guy I'm fighting. Whereas this time, obviously, we didn't have that luxury. So the focus was basically just on getting me in shape and nothing else, really. So I'm here, I'm in shape.
It's a bit like Pavlovich, though, isn't it?
I mean,
I've been in shape and let's crack on.
You've got to remember, before the UFC, you don't have the luxury of having an opponent for weeks and weeks building up to it. I had 9 amateur fights. It was the same doing that. So it's not like my first rodeo of training for someone who I don't know I'm going to fight.
And we're always just trying to evolve as fighters. Anyway, you get better in every area, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing. You work it all. You get in the best shape and let the chips fall as they will.
Look at him. Plugging his own brands on the blooming show, man.
Why not?
Got to be done.
Absolutely.
Listen, check them out if you're not already. Flavoured toothpicks, because they are fantastic.
I did use one the other night, and it was
all right, aren't they?
it was
They're
pretty
all right.
awesome,
I'm glad I've
to
got
be
my
honest
glasses
with
on because you've almost poked me in the one eye a couple of times. I'm like, stand back.
In all honesty, though, Tom, obviously I know you've done a camp, I know you're here, you've made weight and everything else. In your heart of hearts, though, did you ever really think I will be making a walk at Madison Square Garden this weekend?
I don't know. And I've caught myself thinking a few times this week. You know, just when you're like on your own, there's no one else around, and you're like, what if I actually fight this weekend?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
exactly.
What if? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've not obviously when I'm usually here on fight week, I'm just mentally prepared. Everything's leading to that. Whereas this week, it's been a little bit less like that. But you just never know. Even now, I'm like, fight's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Until he weighs in.
I don't even think it's until he weighs in. What if tomorrow someone pulls out?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Jones, because this week he hasn't been complimentary. He's got quite personal. He's called you an a-hole. What is your response to that, Tom? How do you feel? Because you have not been disrespectful. If anything, you've been the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Everyone's a bit of an a-hole sometimes. Let's be honest.
Yeah. No, sure.
But I don't think I was.
You haven't.
I don't think I was
lowered
in this.
Yourself.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think he's trying to do anything he can to stay away from me, trying to come up with all the tricks in the book. Or is he building up the fight down the line? That's the question, because we all know, Mike especially knows, if someone else is trying to bring, if you're on your fight week and you've got your opponent and there's someone else trying to come into that narrative, the easiest thing you can do is say, I'm just focusing on my opponent this weekend. That's it. I don't want to speak about anybody else.
That's all he had to say.
And Jon's had a million fights. I don't think Jon is that stupid.
No.
Do you know what I mean? That was the easiest. The first time he was asked about me, he could have just gone,
I'm not looking past Stipe.
Exactly. And he didn't do that, so surely he can't be.
He's just after an extra zero on the
page.
Maybe.
Because that's what Stipe said every single time, and it's such a cliche and it's a boring answer from fighters. But to be honest, it's also true. You can't look past somebody.
Exactly.
You can't think about Sunday. Where will the fight be? You've got to focus on who it is. So.
Don't forget, we've got a main event here, the greatest of all time against the most successful heavyweight of all time. Yet the biggest story of the week has been, why won't Jon fight Tom? And we've seen that in the press conference. That's why when Dana said the winner should fight Tom Aspinall, the place absolutely erupted. It was like a standing ovation, because that has become the narrative of the week. Yep. Is this premeditated by Jon? Are the words he's saying and the way he's saying, I'm not fighting Tom, I'd rather do this, I'd rather fight this guy or this guy. He's actually building the fight up even bigger on social media and with the fans.
Yep. So, Tom, let me ask you this. Obviously, you're the backup fighter. You know these guys. You've been watching them. Yep. You've seen Stipe this week. He looks great on the scale this morning.
Phenomenal.
If you had to make a pick,
I've not seen it.
Who would you choose to win this fight? Because, listen, everyone's going to say Jon, but I think Stipe's got a real shot.
I've not seen, I've seen Stipe around and stuff, but I've not seen him with his shirt off on the scale. So
he looked good. He looked really good.
That's great. I love to hear that. I think people are just massively overlooking Stipe. Stipe, you've got to remember, he's still got that power.
Yeah.
And Jon Jones, does he have the power at heavyweight, really, to fend him off? We really don't know, because he fought Cyril Gane, let's be honest, he didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So how does he really look against a legit heavyweight who can knock other heavyweights out? We don't know, really. So, in all honesty, I'd give the edge to Jon, just because he's a little bit younger, he's a little bit fresher. He's
creative.
He's been a little bit more active. I think he's got more ways to win as well. But I wouldn't be surprised.
He's got the speed advantage
he does,
as well.
But I think they're both quite slow, in all honesty. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to, is when you watch it on the TV, when you watch an event on the TV, it's hard to gauge the speed.
Yeah.
When you sat from here, really close, like within touching distance of the octagon, you can really start to gauge the speed, the reactions, the timing of the fighters, and I can't wait to see that up close with my own eyes.
Yeah. Just on what you said a moment or two ago regarding the reaction for when Dana obviously gave us clarification of what's coming next. Apart from Charles Oliveira, who probably got the biggest pop from a fighter point of view, the biggest cheers in the arena, 3 people, right? You, him, and Donald Trump.
Come on, Mike.
Let's go. Come on, Tom.
That's
right.
right.
Him and Donald Trump. What a threesome that is.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
USA.
Legendary. I would say, what does the next 24 hours kind of work now for you? But is it still a little bit of a case of what you've just been saying? I don't really know what's happening, so we're just going to
there's
take it all in?
As much as my mates are here in town, are all away from home, and I'd love to go and grab a couple of beers tonight, I'm not going to do it.
No.
I'm not going to do it.
We had a steak the other night. I tried to talk you into one beer.
Well, having it.
You wouldn't do it.
You did. You talked me into having one bite of that cake, though, and I did.
It was
fantastic. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
Scale, no problem.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be, I'm just treating it like I'm fighting until tomorrow night, till the event's on. I'm treating it like I'm fighting.
Let me ask you this: has there been any discussion of you getting in the octagon on Saturday night with your belt and having a face-off with the winner?
Nope. Zero.
Have you requested that?
Yes. I'm waiting to hear back. I requested to go to the press conference. They didn't want me there.
Yep.
I requested to go to the weigh-ins. They didn't want me there. So we'll see what happens with the face-off in the octagon. But that would be great if we can do that.
Would you,
Tom, jump the button.
Force your way
gonna stop, Tom?
into it? Would you?
I'd like to, yeah.
Just do it, Tom.
Absolutely.
Do it. You've earned that right.
Absolutely.
Hey, that's what Volkanovski did. He didn't wait on the outside.
What a lot of people do.
He just, get me in there, get me inside that cage. Got to call it.
It'll be a viral moment.
Whip the shirt off. I go full Hulk Hogan and just start ripping it.
Just go in with your
Mate,
belt.
wait till you see the outfit I've got. It's absolutely horrendous.
Oh,
outrageous
God.
it is.
Come on, give us a hint.
No, I'm keeping it top secret
Is
until
it a
tomorrow,
suit?
mate. You'll see tomorrow. It's way worse. Way worse than that shirt.
Oh my word!
Mate.
He's changed.
He has. Go on, we'll let you clear off for the day.
Cheers,
then.
boys.
We'll
Cheers, boys.
Get your head
Take
back
it
in the
easy,
game.
Tom.
Top man,
Buddy.
appreciate you, mate. There you go. Tom Aspinall. He weighed in a little earlier on as the backup fighter. It's a weird position for him to be in over the next 36 hours because, like I've said on a couple of occasions throughout the course of this talk, we are still waiting for Jon Jones. We anticipate that everything will be okay. We anticipate that Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic will be the main event, but we can't 100% say that, can we? So from him and a mentally point of view, he's been in a weird position.
It's a fantastic scenario. As a fighter, you want a reason to stay on the straight and narrow, to train, to eat clean, to not have a cheeky beer here and there. Tom's got all of that. He's getting tremendous amounts of attention. He's the interim champion. He's getting paid a really good amount of money as well to be the standby. You know, it's a great insurance policy for the UFC. This is what they do with a lot of the big pay-per-view fights now. They have the backup fighter. So for Tom, there's no negatives. Yeah. This is great. He's getting a lot of attention, a lot of media. He gets to be around them. He gets to feel the energy of Stipe and Jon Jones. So for when they do fight, they're not new to that either. Yeah. It's a big win all round.
Yeah. Listen, a little bit of news yesterday. Dana White was obviously he was asked a question, wasn't he, about you? I'm speeding
310
towards the end of the year now. UFC 310. We all know that we had Belal against Shavkat, right? And it fell off because of Belal's injury. But Dana did say that he would be making a big announcement today, didn't he?
Yep.
About 310.
Yep.
We've already got Pantoja and Asakura, who's coming into the UFC and getting himself a title shot. I'm looking forward to that fight, of course. But there's rumours circling and spitballing around. What would you like to see if we can make something happen for UFC 310?
I know what it is.
You know confirmed what it is?
I don't know confirmed. I know from a pretty good source.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I'm not saying.
Okay.
I'm not saying I can't let the cat
well,
out of the
obviously,
bag.
a lot of the rumours have been strongly over the last... Because I don't know. I haven't had this conversation with Mike, but a lot of the rumours have been very strong around Kamaru Usman coming in and fighting maybe even for an interim belt with Shavkat. I like that. That makes sense. I think the UFC do want that welterweight battle, that showcase for Shavkat in a main event, especially with Asakura coming in for his UFC debut. It's not a sexy main event, that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was Shavkat versus Kamaru Usman for the interim title. However, there was a lot of rumblings last night on social media, little bits of bobs here, that Ian Gary's fight in Miami may be getting pulled. Maybe Ian Gary's coming over.
Kamaru, great.
Yeah.
Ian Gary, fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's up it a little bit.
Ooh.
Let's talk about champions. Let's talk about people, selling pay-per-views. That's all I'll say.
Oh, my word.
That's all I'll say. But somebody with a shiny belt might be stepping in.
Oh, tremendous.
This is really hard because I know what it is as well.
You were there.
And I can't say.
Circle of trust.
Circle
cannot
of trust.
be broken.
I'm going to keep my gob
Why
shut.
am I not in the circle of trust? That's what I want
I'll
to know.
tell you after the show, mate.
Okay. Is his name Islam Makhachev?
You're in the circle of nerds.
Don't do this now.
Well, I'm just saying, is his name... You guys are insinuating something else.
Don't do that either. Don't eliminate him because he's just going to whistle it down and he's
yeah.
going to come up with an answer.
It's somebody coming back that we haven't seen for a very long time that's a legendary name.
Oh, wow.
That's a proper curveball that
I
he's thrown
know.
out there and everybody's like
And
Googling
it's a
away.
lie.
Yes. What we will say is that you probably won't be surprised once it's announced.
Saying too much.
I am
So
saying too much.
Shavkat off.
I am.
Shavkat off.
We don't know. No, we're being honest. We were talking to someone
Yes.
and they were floating some ideas. So
Okay.
Yes.
It's not
Okay.
rock
So you guys...
solid either.
Right,
Good
okay.
though. It's good. Anyway, hopefully that will be announced later on, so therefore we can maybe give you a reaction and speak about it because it is absolutely something to talk about for UFC 310. And not surprising that it is, of course, the UFC that would be putting that on. I'm speaking too much now. I'm going to shut up.
You are, yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to bring in, to save the show, we're going to bring in Alan Nascimento, who is Charles Oliveira's teammate. Here he is. Listen.
Hello.
Alan, welcome to the show. How are you,
How
my
you
man?
doing?
Are you good?
Doing good.
Do you want to stand this side?
Of course.
Because my neck
There you
is
go.
killing.
Listen.
It helps me.
We're going to start this with what happened earlier this week because we all went to the same sauna, okay?
Yeah.
Right? And the man test.
Yeah.
The whole team were in there. Charles was in there. Your gang were in there. Can you please confirm to the people that are watching at home that I did the full 15 minutes in the sauna at an incredibly hot pace? I passed the man test.
Yeah, it's amazing feeling. It's amazing sauna. It's a different experience. And we did 15 minutes inside there. And it's so amazing place.
But you don't get any man points
Yeah, you
for
do.
just constantly going on about it.
Exactly.
You go in, you do it, you take it like a man, and you don't
Correct.
mention it.
Let's get on to the fight. Charles, we saw the love from the fans yesterday. I mean, he's an incredibly popular character because of the way that he fights. What's his mentality like coming into this? Because he's already got a win over Michael. Does he have to change anything from the first fight?
No, Charles have the same mentality like a lion. He's a hunter, and his mentality is amazing. The shooter box spirit is the difference inside the octagon, and he's gonna make the same fight with a KO.
What are you guys expecting from Michael Chandler? Because he's had 2 years away from the octagon. So I think, like, mentally, that's going to affect his approach. But what do you guys think?
Well, the thoughts about the fight is maybe the same like the first time. He have the same skills to go inside the fight, and you know the feeling is gonna be a big fight, and we waiting up amazing fight for the Charles.
And Chandler told me that he's been told that this is a #1 contender matchup. Has Charles been told the same thing, that if he wins this fight, he's fighting for the belt?
I think so.
Yeah.
That Charles run to the belt again. That was make this fight, and he run for the belt.
Charles, a while ago, he had some ups and downs. You know, he had a great career, but he had a few losses here and there. Then something changed, and he just turned into this killing machine. I mean, he's always been exciting. He's always had the skills. But the run that he went on, just destroying everybody. What do you think it was that changed?
Sometimes we have a construction, you know, a long time fighting the 145, maybe the weight is the difference.
I think that was a big part of it.
Yeah, it's a big point for he turned the key. So 155 is the best way for him, and he fight like a lion. He fight like a shooter box spirit. That's the difference. And when you start in training first in 2017, maybe he changed the mentality.
He's had a Hall of Fame career, of course, multiple records, former champion. Where does the motivation from Charles to continue going at this stage of his career? He's 38 years of age now. He's earned good money. His legacy is assured. He's a hero in Brazil. He's a global fan favourite. How does he keep motivating himself to going back to the gym, camp after camp, time after time?
So his son was born like 1 month ago. Yeah. Maybe he's a new for him. He wants to show for his son the new, how can I say that, about the
inspiration.
The inspiration, yeah, the motivation, yeah.
Also, Lamborghinis and gold chains aren't cheap.
That's right.
This man looks like Mr. T these days. He's got a lot of bling, a lot of jewelry. He looks good, don't worry.
Yeah.
It wasn't an intro, it was a joke.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
You don't have to break that down.
Okay.
It's like, yes.
Alan, I'm going to let you get on with the rest of your day. Thank you so much
thank you.
for coming and joining us on the show,
Thanks so
man.
much.
All the best.
Thank you,
Send Charles my best,
Thank
please.
you.
There you go.
Thank you, buddy.
There you go. Whack that
Thank
on
you,
there.
sir.
There you go. Superstar. There you go. Alan Nascimento there, who is a training partner of Charles Oliveira. Just giving us a little bit of insight to shooter box and what Charles has been going through. Look at this, man. He's no stranger to the big show.
Oh,
come
on, Mr. Miller.
What's up, Jim?
How are you, buddy?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Rocking and rolling one more time.
One more time. Yeah, we got a couple more in me, so we'll see how many more I got left in the old body.
You're not the elder statesman on this card anyway.
That's true.
You're a pretty young pup now.
You know, yeah, it's a nice spot to be in, again. So, yeah, we'll go out there. I'm feeling great, so can't wait.
And, of course, Madison Square Garden, pretty much a hometown game for you. A lot of fans coming Saturday, a lot of friends and family.
Not really. A lot of fans. Hopefully, everybody will be in there. But I got 4 kids, and get the logistics of getting, 14 to 9 years old. So it's like, yeah, it's tough to get them all here.
This is what people don't realize. As you get older, you got the kids and everything. You think it's all glitz and glamour, and you got your assistants and this and that, and your managers. No, I've got 4 kids. The wives. We've got to make dinner. We've got to change diapers or whatever.
Got to get a sitter. Got to get a sitter because I'm out.
No. So it's. I was trying to get everybody, but it was like, you know what? This is just going to be too much mayhem. So they're bummed that they're not coming.
Too much mayhem for mayhem. I didn't think we'd hear that, mate.
Talk to me about Damon Jackson. Obviously, that's the opponent for anyone that doesn't know.
He's not a young guy. He's in his late 30s. He's been around for a bit. He's a good grappler, very methodical grappler, and he's got a very unique style of striking.
Yeah, he does.
You know, so it's a fight that I respect everybody that comes in. You know, a man standing across from me in the octagon is dangerous. So, you know, but like I don't see him hitting, you know, the level of grappling that I fought before, or the level of striking that I fought before. So for me, it's like, okay, we've seen everything at this point. So I'm going to go out, and my goal is to exploit any weaknesses I can find, and you know, make it a quick night.
The last time we saw you, Jim, was UFC 300.
Yep.
Obviously, you were like the people's main event that night because of historics behind it. But it was a tough night. You know, that you don't want to be having too many more 15 minutes like those.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
It was a tough night against Bobby Green, and you know.
What are your reflections on that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the takeaways.
I mean, reflections. My hand will never be the same. You know, so yeah, it's a tough fight, right? I broke my hand decently badly in the first, and you know, I got the worst cut of my career from a jab in a place that I've never been cut before.
Wow.
So that's the game I play, you know. So like anything can happen, and it's you know, the highest highs and the lowest lows, and you know, I still went out there, and it was not my night, right? It was his night, and I didn't look for a way out. You know, and
we loved
that's
it.
That's something you'll never see from me, right?
Of course, the fans loved it.
That way out.
From you personally, you know, at this stage, you don't want to be doing that every time you step inside the octagon. Of course.
You've had a legendary career. It's the dream scenario to fight at Madison Square Garden, to get a victory, to put the gloves down, to fight the fans. Is that something that you've even thought about? Because my wife used to always say, so this is the last one, right? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you know, this isn't it yet. You know, and for me, it's not going to be that quick decision. We're going to know fight week.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm going to tell everybody fight week, because man, like the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up now, thinking about like the preparation for that last one, and the feel of fight week, and the feel of that walk out there, knowing it's going to be my last one. Wait for that. I love fighting. I love the sport. I love the lifestyle and the training and my training partners and everything about it. But there's definitely parts of me that are like, man, like we're ready for that last one.
Yeah, but all right, so you're in the final phase, but that makes you appreciate it that much more.
Absolutely. You know, the last couple fights, it's really a different feeling in the back. You know, like I see all these young guys warming up. I see the nerves. I see. You know, them doing all this stuff, and it's like, man, I'm sitting there like, I'm trying not to smile so hard, you know, like it's different. It's there's a different feeling now that I have that I don't know what point it was that I kind of gained that experience, but like, yeah, like I everything feels different now, and I'm super appreciative that I still get to do this stuff, and yeah, I'm gonna try to get a couple more in, and.
Mate, don't go yet. Every time I see your name on the blooming sheet, I'm like, we're in for a good night. So.
Obviously, this is built around Jon Jones and Stipe. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that fight?
You know, I think it's a fun fight. It's for me as a fan, it's like it's hard because Stipe hasn't fought in a long time. You know, Jon's only had one fight in a while. You know, and the whole like heavyweight division and you know, Aspinall here and stuff like that. It's I could appreciate, you know, Jon's point of view with some of it, but I can also like I want to see him fight Tom.
Yeah,
I really do.
We all do.
And you know, but like I can also feel for him. It's like, hey man, like I understand that the last couple of years probably physically have been brutal on him. You know, that pec injury he had was nasty, and. You know, it's like he's looking like, hey, this might be the last one, depending on how he feels. And if he's got one more, you know what? Like, I think he's earned the opportunity to say, hey, this is going to be my last one. I want it to be Alex. But as a fan, I really want to see him fight Tom.
Listen, I want to let you get on with the rest of your day. Right. Enjoy it. Thank you so much for coming to join us.
Guys.
Hopefully, we're going to do this countless times over the next few years. All right? It's good to hear you speak the way you speak.
400. Then we'll let
we'll do it at 400.
Then we'll let him go.
All right.
All right.
Jim,
Thank you, guys.
My man.
Appreciate you guys.
Take care.
Thank you, Jim.
Take care, buddy. There you go. Expect the mayhem tomorrow evening when Jim Miller walks in. And I meant that. Whenever you see his name on the card, you think to yourself, don't go anywhere yet, because this could be absolute chaos.
It was funny when you asked him about, you know, friends and family coming down. He's like, No, it's like Dad's going to work. He's going to work. I'm just going to, you know, stand in an octagon inside Madison Square Garden, get paid. I'll be home to give you pancakes in the morning. Mega.
Unbelievable. Listen, I've just been informed that Mr. Jones will be here in around about 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So for people that have just tuned in to us, we are waiting for Jon Jones and we're waiting for James Yontop from the main card. Everybody else has come through, including Tom Aspinall. He's already been on the show. And we are waiting for Basil Hafez and Auburn Elliott.
And that's it.
And that's what we're waiting for at the
4
moment.
people.
Yes. All right. So
Auburn is probably still wandering the streets of New York, enjoying himself.
Probably got lost, hasn't he, on the way in. Listen, whilst we are waiting for those guys, what we're going to do, we're going to have a little bit of a look at another TV show that I do with Mr. Tom Aspinall. All right, boys, you can take a little bit of a break here because in the Fight Lab this week, Tom's been breaking down the main event. Right, so here we are. Main event, UFC 309, Madison Square Garden, the destination. Jon Jones taking on Stipe Miocic live on TNT Sports box office. Title fight. This is going to be a tough one. I know it's going to be a tough one for us to talk about, but we're finally here, a year on from when it was originally scheduled. Stylistically, I suppose there's a lot of questions here because we haven't seen him for, 4 years? We haven't seen him for 4.5 years. Well, he's had one fight in 4.5 years, hasn't he? So there's a lot of unknowns when we're putting this fight together.
Yeah, listen, we're going to put emotions aside on this one. We're going to keep it professional. I am sour grapes about it, but we'll bypass that. But yeah, the biggest question is, how do both guys look with the inactivity? We've got 42-year-old Stipe, who's, like I say, he's coming off a loss 4 years ago, something like that. I think he's had one fight in 4 years, and this guy the same. Yeah. He's had a win, he's had a loss. So anyway, first of all, we'll talk about Jon Jones. So his knowledge in MMA is some of the best to ever do it, and I've got to say that. Do you know what I mean? I've got to give him that. What he generally does with this style is he's very long, 6'4". I mean, not as tall for a heavyweight, but he fights kind of here and does a lot of this kind of stuff. And his attacks are very varied. So he'll go this way on the front leg. He'll go here. He'll also bring the head kicks up. He'll fake the takedowns, come in with the spinning elbows. Also, he's grappling. So if Joe goes against the fence, a lot of the time what Jones does really, really well is once he gets his hands together on a double leg, it is so difficult to break that. So he'll be here. He'll set up the double. Once his hands are locked and he starts to pull his opponent away, he almost always finishes the takedown. Then, as we've seen against Cyril Gane, when his opponents sit up, he's got such a strong front headlock from here, sprawling his leg back. When he gets to this spot, he's heavy here, and his ground and pound is some of the best that we've ever seen. Some of the best elbows in MMA, period. Absolutely, really, really devastating with his elbows. Let's have a look.
Is he going to be able to implement that against someone like Stipe? Yeah, against Cyril, there maybe was a path.
Oh, there we see him. Look, with the oblique kicks. All right, look at this. This is so painful.
That's what I was going to ask that question.
This is unbelievably painful.
That one
that
there,
wrecks.
boom.
That absolutely wrecks, honestly. But yeah, this is really interesting because he's not a heavyweight.
That's the point I'm trying to make. He's had one at heavyweight against a path of least resistance against Cyril.
We don't really know how he looks at heavyweight.
Yeah.
But when you're fighting a 42-year-old Stipe with 1,000,000 miles on the clock, we're still not really going to know how he looks against a prime heavyweight. This is it is a strange situation to be in for the division. It's a really, really weird situation. But you can't deny that Jon Jones is one of the best MMA fighters ever to fight in the octagon. Like, his variety of attacks. Look, once he gets his hands together there at the back, he almost always finishes the double, and then he's so strong and effective on top.
This is his heavyweight fight against
Look, once he gets his hands locked together, see what he's doing here, look. Once he gets this position here with his grip, once he gets his hands locked together, basically you can't get his hands off. His grip must be so strong, and that's something that the uneducated eye can't really see. Like, once he gets his hands locked there, see how his hands are locked? People don't unlock his hands ever. Like, he's really, really strong with that grip. I know we've had a laugh on this show. We've said that he's like Joe Biden. We've called him old a million times.
Sorry, can I just pause on that? We're the same age. I just want to throw this out there, both of you. Like, you're saying it over and over again. This old guy, this old 1,000,000 miles. Mate, I'm thinking,
I'm older than the period.
He also is fighting at the top level of MMA. Do you know what I mean? He's fighting at the peak of the mountain. I think it's it's difficult to see where he's at, because in all honesty, in his last fight, and I'm speaking from an analytical point of view here, I'm not speaking from a personal point of view, he didn't look great in his last fight, and that was 4 years ago or whatever it was, 3 or 4 years ago, and he got folded like a deck chair, and that's nothing. That's the truth of it. He got knocked spark out in his last fight, and up until that point, he didn't look great, and that was 4 years ago, and he's now 42 years old, so interesting. But shall we break down a bit of Stipe?
Yeah.
So
listen.
Stipe, I'm not saying anything. He is the best heavyweight that's ever walked the face of the earth, Stipe Miocic. What Stipe needs to look to in this fight is he's got a fantastic blast double here. He does this really well, closes the distance between the boxing and that blast double really well. But what I want to see from Stipe is Stipe is a little bit taller than Jon Jones, marginally, you know, an inch, but Jon Jones is used to being the taller guy at light heavyweight, whereas you bring Stipe in, who's a little bit bigger than him, he needs to be landing that straight right down the middle as many times as he can, and we've seen Jon Jones be hit with it before. Now, the issue is he has to get Jon Jones going backwards to land it, unless he does what he does to Fabricio Verdum and lands it off the back foot this way. Stipe Miocic's got a lot of power in that right hand, and that's what, if he mixes it in well with the wrestling, which we've seen him do a lot before, he can land it. But the age is the thing that throws me off. Let's have a watch of Stipe. Like I say, Stipe is the best heavyweight to ever do it. There he is fighting in Ghana for the first time. See how
it was a clever performance.
It was very smart performance. Very smart performance. Using his wrestling and using his boxing when he needs to use it. But see, this is what he needs to do against Jon Jones. He needs the pressure going this way, going forward against him. See how he lunges in? That's what he needs to do against Jon Jones, who's quite slow on his feet. Fantastic level change against Ngannou, yeah. He's really, really good. And if he mixes it up between the striking and the takedowns and keeps Jon Jones guessing, it's going to be interesting. Like I say, the question I've got is, can he do it at this stage in his career? Which is the question everybody's got, really.
I think the majority of fight fans will conclude that this is not the best fight that is available in the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not me standing here biased because this lad stood next to me.
Yeah.
I think most people will conclude that this guy against Jon Jones will be the best fight in the heavyweight division. But there's a nostalgia connected to this because, as Tom was just alluding to, Jon Jones is the greatest of all time. His run at light heavyweight was just truly sensational. He went through every single former champion. He slayed everybody. Stipe Miocic, most amount of title defences in the heavyweight division. So there's that nostalgia moniker. Forget that the heavyweight title's on the line for 1 minute. It's a case of the greatest of all time taking on the greatest heavyweight of all time. And that's kind of what they're fighting for, I suppose, at Madison Square Garden come Saturday night. And as Tom's alluded to, we don't know what's going to happen off the back of this. Ideally, as all fight fans, we want to say whoever wins it stands in the centre of the octagon, goes nose to nose with him, and we go, right, at the start, first quarter next year, this is going to be for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world.
Let them do that, and then y'all two fight and that, and then I can say, because I've been with one champ, I've interviewed Jon Jones before, and then, when y'all... don't let me say nothing, because I ain't seen the fight yet.
There you have it. A few clips from Tom Aspinall's Fight Lab. Beo Akinfenwa was the guest this week as we looked ahead to UFC 309. Some detailed analysis. You can check out the full episode on the TNT Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you go and check it out, as well as our own preview. We do a big preview of UFC 309, and there's plenty of interviews on there. You can see me sitting down with... No, you can't actually see me sitting down with Jon Jones, but there's other stuff there as well. It was you, mate. It was you, yeah. Go and get yourself stuck into that. Listen. If you don't laugh, you'll cry, won't you, at the end of the day? It's been a good week here in New York City. Hopefully you've enjoyed everything that we brought to you so far, and we're going to be bringing you, obviously, these fights on TNT Sports Box Office on Saturday night. I say Saturday night. It's the early hours of Sunday morning, but you know what I mean. 1 o'clock in the morning is when the prelims get going. 3 o'clock is that main card, all headlined by Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, as we've been breaking down throughout the whole course of the week. We are still waiting for Jon to hit the scales. I've been told that he's about 8 minutes away. It's about 1/2 the hour is when we're going to see Jon on the scales, which we're all looking forward to. First time we've seen him on the scales in the best part of 18 months, since Cyril Gane. I'll be dead honest, when we saw him at Cyril Gane, we know that he's obviously up in a different weight.
Yeah.
But he didn't look as athletic, obviously, as we've experienced him at light heavyweight. He looked big, didn't he, to be fair? I'm expecting a bit more of a leaner version of him when we see him in, hopefully, 10 minutes' time.
Well, I saw some images this week, and there it is, right there. We can see
he does look different, doesn't he?
Obviously, when he went up to heavyweight from light heavy, At light heavyweight, the man had to be extremely lean because the frame on Jon Jones is about the same size as Stipe's frame.
Yeah, he's big.
So he had to be ripped. He had to be lean. We see him there on the left, bulked up, way bigger, a little heavier around the midsection, but that doesn't matter. No. He seems a little bit leaner this week. He seems like he's carrying a little bit of extra muscle, and that's because, again, more time has passed, more time to build into the frame, more time to lift weights, focus on the nutrition side of things, get lots of protein in there, do a lot of squats, deadlifts, all the exercises to build real power and strength.
Yeah, I also think he was probably a bit heavier against Cyril Gane because the game plan was clear. I'm going to get my hands on this guy. I'm going to use my size and strength to take him down and to force the finish in the manner in which he did. He knew he had the wrestling advantage. I think against Stipe, as we've discussed, that advantage isn't there anymore. So it's got to be a leaner version of Jon Jones, a more muscle, strong version, a quicker version, because the fight could play out on its feet for the full 25 minutes, and he needs to make sure he's got 25 minutes in the locker.
I think he will hit the canvas at some point. Jon Jones, the way that he enters for the takedowns, he's going to wait, he's going to try and slip a jab, get on the inside. If you time it perfectly, it doesn't matter about strength. If you use the technique and the timing perfectly, takedowns are easy to get. So I think Stipe will hit the canvas, but he gets back up really well. He's had a great wrestling career himself. As good as you have to be at taking people down in wrestling, you also have to be good at getting back to your feet and scrambling. Stipe's not going to be easy to hold down.
No.
What did you make of Stipe's weight? Because we've already seen him on the scales. He looked absolutely tremendous. Ready for the beach.
Yeah.
He's a bit heavier than last time we saw him.
Yes. And as I say, I think the reasoning behind that is because he knows now that this version of Jon Jones is a full-size heavyweight version of Jon Jones. Daniel Cormier was never the heaviest heavyweight. He was always around 220, 225. I think Stipe came down to be a little bit lighter against Cormier, just to be a little bit more nimble on his feet. I like the fact that he's gone back up because Jon is a full-blown heavyweight these days. And it is two absolute monsters in there.
I was talking to Adam DeSabato, that's one of the trainers for Stipe Miocic, a man that is kind of a wrestling legend in Ohio. Ohio is one of the strongest states in all of America for wrestling. It's a legendary state. I spoke to him. He said, Stipe is going to kill him. He's going to crush him. I have never seen him as strong. His punching power is through the roof, the strength, the conditioning. Of course, he's his coach.
Of course, yeah.
So he's going to say that stuff. But I know Adam very well. I've known him for a long time. He's not the type of guy to privately tell me stuff that isn't necessarily true. Yeah. Stipe is coming into this one as the best version that we've seen of him in a very long time. Again, forget that he lost his last fight. Forget that he's had 3 fights away. He's had a lot of time to recover, to recuperate, to get over the mental trauma of the last knockout. And of course, he's overlooked. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's angry. We see him at the press conference just very nonchalantly sitting there, just looking as if he's waiting for a bus, because he knows Saturday night he's going to go out there and give Jon Jones the toughest fight of his life.
Anybody that knows Stipe or been around Stipe knows full well the media obligations throughout the course of the week. Of course, they come with being a champion and a top contender and all that, and it's part of the UFC machine. He doesn't necessarily like it. No. He likes his training with his boys. He likes turning up on fight night. He likes delivering on fight night, and then he likes bouncing and spending time with his family. That's what he likes to do. So Saturday is when you see the very, very best of Stipe Miocic. And think of we spoke about Jones all week, but Stipe, opportunity to become a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, and in doing so, in achieving that,
beat the GOAT.
He takes out the GOAT.
Yeah. And be the only person to beat Jon Jones legitimately.
Correct.
Right? And potentially in your final fight. If that doesn't motivate you, get you out of bed, going to the next level, sticking to the diet plan, the nutrition, the rest, the recovery, the protocols. If that doesn't motivate you for that, nothing will. Stipe is a simple man. He doesn't need all the glitz and the glamour. He's a man of few words, but he's a man of action. And you don't get to be a a 2-time champion unless you're extremely disciplined and talented. Yep. The punch power that this man has is ridiculous. He knocked out Fabrizio Verdum to become the champion whilst going backwards. Backing off like this, boom, through a right
shot.
hand. That minimizes your power dramatically. And he still folded Verdum.
Yeah. Away from home as well. Tremendous.
He's had a phenomenal career. And when you look at this fight, and again, it's so easy to come at it from the Jon Jones angle because he is the greatest of all time. And this does feel like he needs this as much as anything, because there's so many. After the Cyril Gane performance, there's more questions than answers still, because that 60 seconds, he didn't look razor sharp. He did look a little bit not as fast as he once did before. Incredible how Tom's picked up on that as well. This vindicates him as a heavyweight champion. Winning a vacant title against someone that's never been a champion is one thing, but actually going out there and defending it against the most successful champion in this weight division, that's something else entirely.
Yeah.
Stipe knows that. Stipe knows he risks his own legacy by putting it on the line for Jon Jones too, and he won't give it over willingly.
Can't wait to see it.
We're finally going to have the questions answered. Can he compete at a high pace in the new frame over the course of several rounds?
Yeah.
Can he take a shot from a legitimate heavyweight? Can he take somebody down at heavyweight? We saw against Daniel Cormier, you know, he gave DC a really good run for his money in the wrestling department. Remember the second fight? He switched things up halfway through the fight, started working to the body, finished him with body shots. People overlook the speed and the power and all the rest of it. I'm telling you right now, Jon Jones will not be doing that. Jones knows he's got a tough test, and that's probably why he's so dismissive of Tom Aspinall as well. He hasn't verbalized that. He hasn't said, I can't look past Stipe. But in his mind, it's like, I've got Stipe to worry about.
Of course.
Never mind Tom Aspinall. Stop asking me about Tom. I'm sick of hearing his name, because Stipe's the one that's keeping him up at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we're going to have a little bit of a Perillo loving now, shall we? Because I've got a mate of yours to come and join us on the show. Welcome, Cheeto.
Oh, come on, Cheeto. How we doing, buddy?
Listen, Cheeto is fresh off the New York...
I've just had neck surgery.
You look prettier that way.
Say again?
You look prettier that way.
Not next to you, mate.
I believe that you're coming fresh off the New York Marathon.
I ran it 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Mate, how was that?
I love it. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah?
Cheeto runs marathons in his sleep.
Yeah,
He's always doing 72-hour fasts and 20-mile runs. You're a maniac.
I gotta stay in shape, you know.
Yeah.
And I just want to get better and eventually become a world champion.
Excellent.
I mean, that's all I can do, you know.
Well, I want to get your analysis on this card at the weekend, if I may, mate. We've been speaking about the main event all week, Jones versus Stipe. How are you seeing it stylistically?
Let's talk about Jon Jones, right? The guy's been dominant so many years. He's been, he's putting people left and right, the way he can spin, the way he can use his elbows. Extremely high-level wrestler, and, he's durable. So a lot of people, including myself, I got to be honest, we have been saying, like, oh, Joe's going to run through Stipe. But the closer we get to the fight, I'm going to start realizing, like, oh, Stipe's a big guy, too. And then also, I forget, because I'm a little guy, the weight cuts hurt us more. The training camp, punches, heavyweights just fight. So, yes, he's a little older, but he haven't taken the damage I have taken, or any other bantamweight or featherweight. So, towards the end of this week, I started thinking, like, man, maybe Stipe have a bigger chance than I thought. But as a fight fan, and I'm closer to Jon, I'm just rooting for him, right? But I just got to be honest with that.
But if you had to make a pick, who would you say wins?
I would pick Jon Jones.
Yeah. No, and that's smart. That's kind of what I say. I think Jon Jones probably does it. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Ain't gonna be easy.
I wouldn't be surprised if Stipe pulled it off.
And you're absolutely right with that, because Stipe, I mean, he got the most defenses in heavyweight. He has been like the best of the best. Cigano, Overeem, and he's been in front of like huge heavyweights and guys that can punch. So we'll see what happens this weekend. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to be a great week.
Do we often, when we talk about Jon Jones, Cheeto, when we think about Jon Jones, do we reminisce maybe a little bit too much about the golden years? Because he was probably at his peak 7-8 years ago, where Stipe's peak was only like 2 or 3 years ago.
I mean, that's true. He went to a few big fights with DC. I mean, he's probably a little fresher in the heavyweight world because he's been a heavyweight his whole life. And for Jones, all the time off it took to bulk up, get bigger, get used to the weight. But he's Jon Jones. Even if his prime was a while ago, he's still younger than most fighters. He's still he's the youngest one ever to win the belt. So he's just he have proved everybody wrong his whole career.
He figures it out.
Yeah.
And this is something we haven't mentioned all day, but it's true, and it sounds like I'm ripping on Jones. I'm not. Yeah, he beat Cyril Gane, and that was super impressive. But before that, the last few fights at light heavyweight, they weren't easy. There's
a lot of points decisions.
A lot of people think Reyes won the fight, think Thiago Santos won the fight. And people say he fights to the level of his opposition, and of course his opposition's really good this week. But still, when you look at that, again, it makes you think, hold on, this is a lot closer than people might think.
Yeah. Listen, before I let you go, let's talk about your division. Come on, man. When we're rocking and rolling again.
When you're back in there, Cheeto.
I'm training. I've been in the gym every day for the last few months, and I did a little changes. Like Arman Sarukian put me with his wrestling coaches in LA, so I've been wrestling almost every morning. I got a 12-hour drive to Glendale, but if you're hungry, if you're focused and you're disciplined, I don't care how far I got to drive in order to win a fight. And then I've been training with Coach Perillo every afternoon. We still like figure things out. You know, it's all about evolving. Like, I mean, you can lose a fight, you can win a fight. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You gotta stay in the gym. You gotta stay consistent. You gotta like just find a way to get better, to stay enthusiastic about it, because it gets old. I mean, we all know that, but I like to see the better side of like how I can do better, what I can learn about it, and when they call me, I'll be ready to let it go.
Well, I love watching you fight, man. So all the best for that.
He stole my coach.
Yes.
And now he's trying to steal my agent, because I know you had lunch with breakfast with him this morning, didn't you? He's trying to take my job as well.
I mean,
Get out of it.
I got a better look than you, man.
I will fight you for my role.
Cheeto, all the best, my man. There you go. Michael Oliveira there joining us on the show as we build up towards Jones and Stipe. Listen, great to get everybody's insight on this fight. We're still waiting for Jon Jones to hit the scale. One thing that we haven't actually mentioned in the weigh-in show, right? And we're taking credit of this. The old gloves are back, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that's right.
The old gloves are back. If you remember at UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi, we sat down with Dana, we said, listen, man, this is the situation. I know that they were brought in to obviously help with the eye pokes, but the holy S moments that Dana sells had started to dwindle. Knockouts with hands are significantly lower with the new gloves since UFC 302 than previously.
And the eye pokes haven't diminished.
They've stayed the same.
Correct.
Now listen, we poked that to Dana. He was unaware of the data at the time. He's a clever man. He's gone away. He's spoke to his team. He's had a look into that and made a change. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, this is the entertainment business. We want to see the viral moments, don't we? So the old gloves are back for this weekend.
And I've had those gloves on my fists. They definitely do feel like there's a little bit more padding, and the tiniest little bit will make dramatic changes to what the fighter feels when they get cracked.
Yeah. We sat down, didn't we? And we broke down, we looked at the 18 fights since the new gloves came in, 18 events since new gloves, and we compared it to the 18 events pre-new gloves wearing the old gloves, and it was dramatically significant, the decrease in knockouts. Listen, as you say, Dana's in a business of selling big moments, and if those moments are diminishing by the gloves, I love the way he's just gone, right, those gloves, they're the old gloves now. The old gloves are now the new gloves. Let's go.
And he confirmed at the press conference yesterday that it's not just for this event.
Oh, it's permanent.
It's going forward, so we're going to see it at the back end of the year as well.
So get ready.
Well, yeah. You're welcome. But he did give me homework, didn't he? I mean, how much homework did I have to do? When that interview finished, by the way, sent me on my way. He said, right, I want to know about submissions. Have they gone up? Have they gone down? Go and do this. So we literally went off and did all the work.
We had our glasses on and we broke down every single fight,
But it is. Listen, the data is significant. The knockouts with hands are 1 or 2 down per event since the new gloves have come in, whereas submissions have stayed the same, eye pokes have stayed the same. So therefore those, and we're getting more decisions off the back of us not getting as many knockouts. So it's good to see that change has been made, and as you can see there's Jon
putting the old gloves
on.
Well,
he's obviously never fought in the new gloves, so it won't be any different to him. It won't be any different to Stipe. They're just using the gloves that they've
I think it, as well as the data, as well as the information that you can't really argue with, you've got fighters like Jon Jones saying, I don't even like these gloves. They don't feel right. Prefer the other. So it just made sense to go back to the old ones.
No, absolutely. We are still waiting for Jon Jones.
Are we still waiting for Oban Elliott as well?
Yes, and Basil Hafez.
20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got 20. 20. Here we go. There we go.
Here he is.
He's on time. Let's go.
Here he comes on the scales.
Definitely looks leaner.
Definitely leaner.
That's a fact. That's a different version.
Wow.
This is different.
He looks good.
237.
I like that weight.
And what was Stipe? 246?
Yep.
Yeah.
So 9 pounds difference.
9 pounds between them, yeah.
Not a lot in it, but...
Well, Jones definitely looked heavier than that against Cyril Gane. Physically, he looked heavy. I'm sure the scales are a little bit heavier as well, but Again, this is the different mentality.
Well, it
This
looks
is
like
a
he's
guy
still down
for
to a
me
proper heavyweight.
That looks like he's ready to do 25 minutes if required.
And he's toying with it. You know, when you first go to heavyweight, you want to put on as much as possible. You want to be as strong and heavy and all the rest of it. And now he's tweaked it a little bit and coming a lot lighter. It is a significant difference.
Last time, especially in the heavyweight division, is as long as it's functional muscle. You don't have to be body beautiful. Look at Tyson Fury. As long as it's functional muscle, allows you to do your job to the best of your ability. I just think now, functionality-wise, I'm looking at Jon Jones, I'm thinking, okay, this is different from Cyril Gane. This is not a guy that's just going to rely on the wrestling base and has got a straight line to victory. He knows this could be 25 minutes where he has to dig deep. But we've seen Jon dig deep before.
Of course. Basil Efez has just gone through the scales as well, coming in at 171. A little bit of a round of applause, I think, for his team. We're still waiting for Auburn. That's worrying. Where are you, sunshine? Waiting for Auburn Elliott, who is Basil Efez's opponent, but we can confirm that.
I think he's just walked in.
There he is.
Here he is.
There you go. Here we go. I can see him in the background there.
The Welsh gangster, let's go.
He was just milking it, you see. He wanted Jones to go first. He wanted to be the last lad. Look at him.
Yeah, look at him struts on like he owns the place. This guy's energy is infectious. Could not be a nicer guy. He's funny. He's got a great personality. The fighting skills are there. He's very marketable.
Oh, championship weight as well.
Championship weight as well.
Championship weight.
He's made us wait, and he's hit championship weight.
Oh, there it is.
There he is. Well done.
Mega.
Auburn Elliott there just completing his weigh-in. That, apart from James Yontop, we're still waiting for James Yontop.
Concludes the weigh-in show?
Well, nearly. Yeah. Joe, something, yeah, it does conclude the weigh-in show. We're waiting for James Yontop. He's fighting Mauricio Ruffi. He came in as a last-minute opponent. We'll keep you up to date with that.
Yeah, that fight has been moved to 165 catch weight, by the way, which may explain why that's been pushed back a little bit.
We'll keep you up to date with that via our social media channels. But what we can confirm now is that Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic have both weighed in. Everything's on point. And at the moment, that is your main event for UFC 309. Looking forward to that. Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler coming through in that co-main event, and they were absolutely on point as well. Tom Aspinall did weigh in. Don't think he's going to be used tomorrow, but we have had that confirmed, of course, that he will be next for the winner of Saturday night. Feeling good, boys?
Feeling great.
Feeling excited?
Very.
There's a little bit of spice in the air with it being, obviously, New York and Madison Square Garden. You know, magical things happen in the Garden, so make sure you come and join us. Just a little bit of a confirmation of what you can expect from TNT Sports box office. Check this card out. Have a little bit of a nosy. Kicking off with a bit of Mauricio Ruffi, of course, and then it all builds towards the co-main event of Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler, and then Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. 1 o'clock for the prelims. Make sure you come and join us for that. The main card gets going from 3 on TNT Sport Box Office. Thank you very much for joining us on this fantastic Friday morning in New York City. The ceremonials will be a little bit later on, but don't be missing these fights on Saturday night.
One man is sewn together with a skeleton of silverware. Johnny Bones Jones. But a living legend lies in his path.
This man is one of the best to ever do it.
What if we could see what it takes to win? A look beneath the anatomy of a king.
One of the most epic fights in the history of